we're live. Welcome to the Geekus Theoreticus podcast. My name is Asmagon, and this is my co-host. That's your cue.
I said hello, I'm Ludus Infinio.
Didn't come through.
Okay, well, hello, I am Ludus Infinio.
Oh, there we go.
My mic off.
Take two. Alright, so let's see who's in the chat. We got Xerius and Brother Calkiel. Welcome, guys. It's always great to have you. We love our regulars here on the podcast. So, today we're going to do a little bit of a shake-up of our normal formula. Because we're just going to go with Ludus's topics. He's got two, I got one. And then there's two 40k specific discussions I want to do at the end to cover the last two news slots. So I think it'd be more fun to talk about that towards the end. Something a little special at the end for everybody to look forward to. Two posed questions, or so to speak. Make sure I have them written down somewhere so I don't forget. All right. I'm pretty sure they are. With my luck, it's gonna be a beauty finding them.
No, I found them. I'll do this. I'll resend it to you. There you go. So it's right at the bottom.
Alright, what if Horus was never... Yeah, okay. So, we'll have those on standby at the end. Boom. Alrighty. Alright, so Meme Gene 69, welcome to the podcast. Armored Mike, welcome. Woke up at 5 to go to work, and back again at 5 p.m., and I'm feeling like shit. At least the podcast is here. Well, hopefully we can make you not feel like shit. Captain UFO, greetings! Xerius, me wishing I had my own podcast. Well, you can create one.
You could. You very easily could.
What, do you think we conjured this up by sacrificing a goat?
Oh, wait, we weren't supposed to do that?
Ah, shit. That explains why I don't hear him anymore. No, but you can make a podcast anytime, man. There's no rules or laws about how to go about it. There's no regulation. Thank God. We're getting there. But anyway, first topic is, do you want me to introduce it? Or do you want to do it? It is your topic, after all.
Can. This is something that I've always held near and dear to my heart, especially with games like World of Warcraft. Sid Meier came out with a statement saying he doubt he could make Civilization today, or that if he did, he doesn't think he would play it. There was a complexity of games back in, I would say, the early to late 90s. And it's just gone. Now, there are hard games, like, for instance, Dark Souls. But they're not complex. It's just grind the hell out of it and learn what trick you need to beat a certain boss or a certain monster.
And I would say that some of the best games are not very complex at all. Some of the best games definitely are, but I don't think complexity is inherently tied in with the quality of a game. Because if you look at some of the most renowned games of all time, most of them have the most simplistic mechanics. Mario, very simple mechanics. It's a side-scrolling platformer. Very simple tactics. Very simple to understand, and it's one of the most popular games of all time. Pac-Man, very simplistic game. You know, collect the dots, don't get eaten by the ghost. If you eat that glowing orb, you can eat the ghost for a certain amount of time. It's, again, games that are simplistic aren't necessarily bad. I definitely think, though, that if a game can be complex and have it work, I think that's something to admire. If a game, the more complex a game gets, the harder it is to make it more appealing to the average or the standard gamer.
This is something that, like I said, my example specifically is World of Warcraft. I've played since vanilla. I haven't played, oh man, let me backtrack here. I've played BFA. So, I've played through all the expansions, and I can easily say first three expansions were easily the best. You got Vanilla, Burning Crusade, and Wrath. They were the best. They were more complex,
I agree
especially
entirely.
with your leveling and talent system. When they dumbed it all down, and when they dumbed down some of the professions, it didn't ruin the game, but it made it like, oh, cool. You just made it so I beat the game that much quicker and lose interest that much quicker. And I think for games that do have long-running series that are specific to that. Now, Civilization is a good example of this. I have seen some Civilization games with the dumbest of dumb mechanics that are just oversimplified, and then I've seen them where they are actually not as simple.
I'll take your
And
word for it on that one. The thing is, I've never partook in the Civilization series, mainly because the first time I heard about a Civilization game, I was still playing. I was still playing games like Warframe and a few other looter shooters more hardcore, so I dedicated so much time to those. I didn't really spend the money or the time to get any of the Civilization series. It's
right.
weird to say that.
And for me, it's one of the things I think is they're doing actually better on is they've added in some new mechanics that didn't really make it more complicated, but they've added in more mechanics. In 6, for instance, they added in natural disasters, which I think is really cool. Because it's like, oh, look, my city's doing fine. Oh, my city just flooded. Oh, shit.
Adds a random modifier to the game strategy.
Right.
You gotta love that, but you also gotta hate it, because certain games do it well, some games spam it too much.
In the case of Civilization, there are some that are very easy to notice and kind of defend against. For instance, flooding. If you're not near water, probably not going to flood.
Logical. Just real quick, by the way, Nathan, welcome to the stream, and welcome Justin Oreo. Howdy, just saw this while looking for something to listen to on the way to work. Well, hopefully you enjoy the listen, my friend, and thank you for joining in. Sorry.
No, you're fine. And but like there are some that are completely random, like tornadoes or stuff like that. So
even then, I would say there is, if I were programming or setting up the game for that, tornadoes typically don't pop up in non-flatter plains. So if you have a territory that has more hills or more mountains,
right,
that's gonna affect a tornado even being able to form or even lasting.
right. And so one of the things that I really respect about this is he is very aware of the fact that this is the game series that I helped pilot, or I would even go as far as saying that he piloted. And he was like, I just couldn't do it today. If I did, it's not even a game I would want to play. So I could kind of respect that.
Does he say specifically why? Like, is there a specific thing going on right now that, in particular, or is there just like the gaming crowd at the moment, like the audience?
The actual quote is, "I don't think I could make Civilization today. I'm not sure I would. I'm not sure even I would play it. It wouldn't fit in the zeitgeist. It asks a lot of the player and takes a while to work it out. You have to play it once in order to understand what's going on. You have to be willing to spend time with it, and that's not where most gamers are."
Okay, so yeah, it is specifically about gamers and their attention span, by the sounds of it, which I can respect and understand that for sure. I agree. This is one thing I've discussed this with some indie devs I know and have worked with, and one thing that is very common amongst indie devs who make strategy games is a lot of them are warned, not just by me, but like the general gaming sphere, especially game developers. It's just not smart to develop those games and assume there will be a higher player base for it. Unfortunately, in the modern day, the modern gamer is not very open and accepting of games that take a lot of time. I would say there's a lot of people who have formulated an artificial form of ADHD. There's so much entertainment available that I think it's inherently affected people's ability. People want to do so many different things because they have so many things to do. Holy fuck!
Waiting for that. I was like, I want to see how much this interrupts him.
I'm reading that right?
You are reading that right. It is. I was about to say dollars. It's 99.99 British pounds.
Praise be
British
to
pounds.
you, mighty
Super
donator.
proud of all the progress that you made, Asmongon. Really growing as a content creator and finding your steps once again. This is on me, XXX. Which, if I remember right, X's are hugs, O's are kisses. So it's.
Oh, fuck. Fuck.
Nathan has broken Asmongon. Okay, I was wrong. X's are kisses. I always thought it was the other way around because the X's are like the arms and the circles are like lips. Which really puts that in a really confusing light for me now.
Okay. Oh.
Hasmagon.exe has stopped working.
I don't know whether to cry or not. I kind of. Oh, fuck. Thank you, Nathan. Ah, fuck. I'm sorry. Thank you. Ah, fuck.
Well, for 90, I wouldn't say that's necessarily true. I think gaming isn't something that it falls to the majority. I think it's something that they take into account the casual gamer. Which, yes, the casual gamer is the majority, but there are games that are obviously, they have more complex systems put in place, but they still want to appeal to their base as well as casual. Wow, that sounded really elitist stuff.
Sorry, what? I'm sorry. I need to press the reset button. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you. Thank you. As beyond generous. Alright, what were we even talking about? I'm sorry.
We were talking about Sid Meier, and I was talking with the chat while you took a second.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Fuck.
Don't worry, I'll make up for it later. By the way, hilariously, I did want to mention this. I was absolutely right. The only lore video I've got to piss people off was my Space Wolf video.
I told you. I warned you about that.
I knew it was, and I still don't care.
As long as it doesn't affect you to piss people off.
It really doesn't. It's pretty funny to me. Because I'm like, really? This is what you're going to get pissed about? Okay, cool.
Alright. I don't think I read Nathan's super chat out loud. I was too busy trying to keep my heart beeping.
I read it out for you.
Fuck.
Oh, damn it.
Damn. Alright. I was in the middle of saying something before that. I can't even remember what. Okay, I think I remember. So, when it comes to the indie development side of producing video games, I would definitely agree with Sid Meier in the fact that the modern gaming crowd is very much an ADHD crowd. There's a huge amount of the player base that'll even touch a video game nowadays. They normally won't touch anything that looks overcomplicated, even looks overcomplicated. If it is complicated, typically that's when you start getting into a niche audience.
Right.
One thing that I've heard that when I first got into indie development, that I heard that really disappointed me and made me want to leave indie development, really, just because I heard it, was the more simple, the more successful. That is one thing that I heard from an indie dev who had a mobile game he'd produced. I will leave him nameless because I don't think he would take it very well if I shared any of our conversations. But he's released several mobile games that have been successful, relatively speaking. One of them even has microtransactions now, which is weird to see. But he's made pretty good money at them. And they're little-known games, but he's made pretty damn good money at it. And they're really simple games. Like, even the programming code is like less than 20,000 lines, which he's only added to here or there, like once every couple months, just to give the illusion that he's doing like these major updates. He's the one who phrases it like that, by the way, not just me. I'm not insulting him. I'm being frank. And he said, like, I've worked in indie development for 20 years. Indie development, not even AAA. I wanted to do AAA when I was younger, but then I realized how lucrative it could be for me personally if I just developed my own, handoff games. And he said it himself that none of these games, if they were to go under, would his heart be destroyed or anything. He'd be disappointed because of the work he put in, but he says, I don't particularly adore any of the games I've developed for, like the last 5 or 6 years, because they've all been marketable games. They've all been games that'll appeal to somebody who's flipping on their phone looking for random apps. Something that people will just, like, purchase, like, the $5 once and then call it good, and then they'll do the simple mechanic that just appeases their 5-minute ADHD. And he's made lucrative money at that. He told me that the games he worked hard on for years, back when he first started indie development, that were complicated games. He worked on a turn-based strategy game, which ended up flopping. Like, nobody wanted to get it, despite how hard they worked on the marketing, and how much they spent on advertising it with creators on different platforms, which back then was mostly just YouTube, apparently.
Yeah.
But he said even if you got them to play it just casually, no one seemed that interested, and the game flopped altogether. So he said, I learned a valuable lesson early on. If you want to make money at this, you don't necessarily, you can't appeal to what you like as a more complicated creator. Like, if you like a strategy game, that's fine to make a game like that, but just go in understanding that most likely, unless it has something very unique and something very widely appealing, most people aren't going to get into it. They're not going to enjoy it. They're not going to partake. They're going to let it die. They're not gonna give a more complex game a try. And Civilization is a grand strategy by the looks of it. So,
kind of.
Inherently, it's a game that would not appeal to the larger demographic of gamers. It would definitely have an audience, but it wouldn't survive the modern gaming climate.
And that makes me want to address 2 things in the chat real quick. One thing, I'm going to take care of Zeros real quick, because he wants to know why people were upset about my video. It was on the Space Wolves, and my least favorite out of all the original Legions is the Space Wolves, and I made that very clear. To the point of calling the Wolf and Mersuiters. And then there's a conversation going on between Punishment, Murder Skin, and Justin Oreo. To put this in the simplest term, let's say the gaming community was 100 people. You're saying niche developers need to just stick to their player base and not adhere to anyone outside their core audience. Here's why that's absolutely wrong. Let's say out of those 100 people, you're doing, we'll say, grand strategy. If that's the case, let's say out of that 100, your audience is 5 people. Well, what happens when those 5 people move on to either a different grand strategy game, or that they just lose all interest, or they just stop playing games, period? You've lost your 5 people. You haven't grown your audience, so you now have no audience. You're making no money. It's good for them to put things in to appeal to people of different audience. I just think some of them go crazy with it, and that's what's wrong.
I definitely think you can tell. I've always noticed this anyway. This is how and the thing is, I'm not exempt from this, and none of me and my team were exempt from this. But the easiest way to catch a new indie developer, if you're like talking in groups and stuff, is the way they talk about their games. Like if you talk about them super enthusiastically, and you talk about only the positives, and you also jump in and get you write these essays of these complex structures of ideas and programs and systems. Like if you start seeing that stuff, that's usually a sign of somebody who hasn't been in the scene very long or is just getting in. Because though to anybody from the outside point of view, they'd be like, oh, this person's really thought out their game. Yes, they have. Too much so. And again, as I said earlier, simplicity is far more marketable. It's far more profitable, unfortunately. And that's not just indie development. That's AAA as well. But it's far more personally lucrative if we're talking just the indie market. But most experienced indie devs that I've seen, and this isn't universal. There are some experienced indie devs who still, write these long essays, but that could just be a personal thing. But when it comes to giving your pitch or your basic outline of your game, most experienced indie devs can usually narrow it down to a single paragraph of, this is a basic rundown, basic systems, this is the base, we'll build off of this, but this is the seed, this is the root. That's all you need to know.
So punishment. You're saying dumb down your game for the casual audience to step backwards. Yes and no. There are some games that can do it, and do it very well, Mike. There are other games that take it way too far. For instance, one of the better things about WoW is when they simplified leveling. That was actually pretty good. One of the problems with WoW is when they simplified talents. This is the same game, two examples of dumbing down the game, and one worked, one did piss off a good majority of the fan base. For a while, at least. So, it's all a matter of how it's done and how it's implemented for the audience. So, again, it's not that it's backward. It's, again, if you don't grow your audience and your audience stagnates, eventually you're not going to have an audience. You're no longer going to be making games.
Praise be to
and
you,
you're no longer
mighty
going to be making
donator.
money because you're not making games, and then you're just eventually going to die out.
Somebody did a Streamlabs, didn't they? Because either that or the super chat is really slow. Just got the alert. Keep going. I'll figure this out.
And Murderous Kitten, yes, I do dislike the Space Wolves more than the Ultramarines. At least the Ultramarines aren't completely one-dimensional.
Yes, they are.
Oh, no, they are. Just not as bad as Space Wolves. Neither one of them are completely one-dimensional. I always used to think the Space Wolves were. And doing the lore video on them, I realized I was wrong. I still think the Ultramarines have a little bit more character than the Space Wolves.
Oh, damn. Thank you, Jinjin. Ginger Ninja says, "Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!" and donated £50 per store.
£50?
Yeah, thank you, Ginger. Thank you, very much appreciated. Oh God, today's gonna kill me. It's only so much love you can pump before my heart's just I give up.
Oh shit. Oh god, my lungs. Kill me now.
Alright. I don't know, there's something I wanted to say, got thrown off again. Ah, okay. Got it.
I can imagine how you got thrown off.
Keeps happening. It's like throw money at him, he'll get distracted. It's true.
Okay, punishment, I get that, but at the same time, look at games like Mortal Kombat that have actually upped some of the complexity. So, look at a good one that has really upped the complexity since it was a thing is Killer Instinct.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, Ginger Ninja, thank you. We both appreciate it. We both very much appreciate it, thank you. One thing I want to say, just again from an indie development perspective, a lot of, if you're not in indie development, this is hard to understand. But when you're developing a game, especially when you're short on budget, you're short on time, short on people, when you're basically short on everything, when you're developing a game, it's incredibly slow, it's incredibly difficult, and at the end of the day, you're investing time, and unfortunately, time does cost money. That's time you could be putting into another real-world job, that's time you could be putting into investing in other things that could be more lucrative. So a lot of people, when they hear about indie devs, then they always think of the most passionate games and passionate game projects. I could tell you this, for every Undertale, for every Shovel Knight, for every passion project game that becomes successful, there's about 500 to 1,000 smaller, lesser-known games that weren't made with any passion that are probably almost as lucrative. Lots of mobile market, for example. And the reason for that is when you're in indie development, you need to justify the time cost. The more you develop, the more money you need back to justify that development. So as awesome as it would be to make a game you're passionate about, like, again, an Undertale, a Shovel Knight, pick your favorite indie game, Bendy and the Ink Machine, put it here. As cool as it would be to develop a game that from start to finish is just a passion project and then ends up being successful, I can tell you this with certainty. I've had many a conversation with indie devs who had one game and never touched the market again because the game they made was their passion project. But unfortunately, that passion project wasn't what the audience wanted, wasn't what would be popular with the majority. It was just a game that the developer definitely had passion making, and if you played it and gave it a chance, you would definitely have fun with it. But most people wouldn't even do that. Because unfortunately, those are where things don't always intercross. There's, again, people love to look at Undertale and Shovel Knight and all those examples, but at the end of the day, they are out of thousands of failed passion projects in the indie market. Thousands.
And I'll say this.
So if a developer does make a game in the indie market and it's clearly a cash grab, don't look down on them, because understand that, unfortunately, almost nobody gets into the indie market with that in mind. They don't get into the market with the mindset of, oh, I'm just going to make money. Some people do. But for the most part, most indie devs go in with a passion project in mind and then realize how much it costs, and then they have to make a decision. Am I going to take the chance that this very niche idea, very abstract idea might make money, or I can copy a formula and a mechanic type, add a spin to it, and then throw it out there, make it a game for minimal budget, minimal work, and get money back? I don't look down on those people. I really don't, because I've been in the indie development scene for years now. I can tell you for a fact, if at first I probably did look down at them at first, back in the day. Not now. I've had conversations with people like that, and I can just tell you I just have nothing but respect for them because I understand where they're coming from. A lot of people don't understand that, and I do think I need to stress that. So, as much as you, Punishment, may be angry that indie developers are appealing to the larger demographic and are appealing to larger audiences with simplistic, almost copy-paste mechanics, understand that that's probably coming from a dev who already attempted that passion project, unique niche game idea, and simply just wants to justify all that hard work some way. And unfortunately, that usually comes out in subpar games with copy-paste mechanics, again, but it makes money.
And I'll say this, don't blame the devs.
That's the balance work, really.
And I'll go this far. You can't really blame the devs. You should blame the people who themselves are casuals who demand that the game be made easy. Kind of what happened to World of Warcraft, unfortunately.
That is what, unfortunately, it comes down to. It comes down, if you really want to break it down to its most simplistic nature, it's money versus passion. And you have to choose one. Unfortunately, it would be awesome if you could choose both, but you have to choose one. Now, that's not to say one can't intertwine with the other, but you can't, from the get-go, try and reach for both. Like the developers for the developer, because I think there was only one for Undertale. He went into it by himself. He saved a lot of money doing pretty much everything himself, putting everything together himself, doing everything himself. That inherently was going to save him time, money, going to save him in all the fields that count. And if it had failed, it probably wouldn't have cost him as much as it would some projects I've been a part of. Jesus. Lots of money went down the drain in some projects I've been in part of, let me tell you. And it's stressful. It's a pain in the ass, but at the end of the day, you just got to understand that you have the benefit of looking only from the side of the glass of just somebody who gets to see the final product and say, like, oh, that's just appealing to the mainstream. It should be appealing to the niche audience it was originally built for. They probably wanted to do the same too. They couldn't afford it. It's a battle between money and passion. And unfortunately, money usually wins out.
Well, it's not even that. So, and even Punishment says, well, as a prime example. Here's why. I think we agree, but we agree for different reasons. WoW was a case of you had a bunch of new people coming in right after Wrath, because word got around that Wrath was actually one of the best expansions. So a lot of new people got into it, and that's when in Cataclysm, they're like, okay, this is harder than I thought. We need to make it, make it easier for us. Make it easier for us. You had all these new people coming into the game that ended up being close to, I think, like 40% of the mark of the players at that time. And all of them at the same time said, make it easier. And no one said, and everyone else was sitting there like, really? And so no one else said anything. So like, well, if this many people want it, then I guess it's a big thing. So we'll make it easy. That's kind of what happens with most games. Developers aren't in their own little bubble, just focused on their game. They play games too. And I think part of what helps them out is if they have a game that they either take influence from, or for instance, they want to make a grand strategy, they probably play grand strategy games and see what they think is wrong with it and try and be like, okay, in my game, I won't have that. And that's what ends up, I would easily say, either making a game successful or just outright killing it.
Meme Gene, you're kind of right and you're kind of wrong. In the sense that if you make a mass appeal game, it doesn't inherently mean it's going to compete with other games of the same mass appeal. Because the thing is, the indie market has always been looked at as a separate market from the AAA. They inherently, indie will compete with the newest AAA game of the same type. But oftentimes, like, for example, if there's an indie developed, let's say, not necessarily an MMORPG, but let's just say an RPG style game. Similar-esque to, what's that game? RuneScape. Let's say there's a indie RuneScape, but it's not the same exact game. It's slightly different. It's got a slight unique tinge to it, and plus, it being indie developed, it's got a constant flow of updates coming in. The developers are constantly working on it. So let's say, that's, by your logic, it's going to compete directly with RuneScape. Well, RuneScape's been around for years. And one market people don't think of usually, at least not from newer devs anyway. You got to also think about what I call anyway. I don't know if most indie devs would use the same term. I call disgruntled players. Disgruntled player it's basically face value. The name's pretty obvious, but it's a player that's played a game for a very long time and is getting bored of it. They still love the game, but they want to try something new, but they don't want to try something that's completely different. They want the same game, but they want it to feed that old nostalgia of what the game used to be for them. So they'll look at the indie market most of the time. Or they'll look at private servers for like previous versions of the game they're currently on. Oftentimes people will usually go, people who are very like cautious, and rightfully so, I should say, or are cautious of private servers of older games, because oftentimes they can be kind of shady. I would say most people would tend to prefer to look to the indie market, because indie market are still proven games. They're still games. They're not like a private server where you have no idea who's running it, and you don't know what they're like. You're not sure if they're shady people or not. With indie devs, it's usually not, you don't have to play that game, because if they have their game up on the market, they've been approved through some kind of application process. So, to a degree at least, they've been proven legitimately as a legitimate game. They're good to go. It's not a scam. It wouldn't be up on Steam or Epic Game Store or any of those other platforms if it were a scam, because usually, again, there's a vetting process that every developer has to go through. Some developers go through larger ones. It depends on your size and, again, what you're selling the game for. So with the disgruntled player base in mind, you can make bank just placating to those kinds of players. So again, with that RuneScape example, the indie RuneScape equivalent, people are going to look at that and go, well, that game looks newer, but it's got the same old nostalgic mechanics. Let's say the developer was looking at RuneScape and looking, oh, these are what the player base say they want, and this is what they're not being given by the current devs. Okay, let me put that in my game. Let me even market it in my game. Let me market my game as the old school RuneScape, but has all the quality of life changes they want with all the old mechanics they preferred. You then take that, you put it together, you piece the game together, and voila, you got a moneymaker. That's a whole marketing demographic, is disgruntled players. And lots of indie devs can capitalize on that like crazy. Some have. And it's pretty lucrative.
And I'll say this, punishment, no. I do not think that it's the
What's
same
up, Fincarn? Welcome to the podcast. Just want to welcome him.
I don't think it's the same thing in tabletop games. I think with video games, it's more of appealing to the casual. In tabletop games, it's more of everything being politicized right now. And that has that has a lot to do with Western culture as a whole, that everything's just getting politicized, unfortunately, and it's fucking stupid. So, no, it's not the same thing. It's two different problems, and they look similar, but no, it's just two completely different things.
Let me see what comment you were responding to, just to make sure.
Do you think the same thing is happening to tabletop games now that these niche hobbies are becoming more popular?
No. If you're talking about the indie dev stuff, or is he talking about something else?
I think he was referring to that tabletop games are getting dumbed down for the casual. And
I'd say the mainstream ones are not. I think they're definitely trying to make them more appealing, but the thing is, when we're talking about a tabletop game, it's the whole genre as a whole is already niche, so they're never going to escape that. So I would say, again, gotta be careful here. Most tabletop developers, like GW, are not going to completely change their formula like, let's say, a game developer would. Because they're already hitting a niche market, so they know inherently that the audience they have likes a certain, I'll use the term mechanic to how the game is set up, so they're not going to change that drastically. They're definitely going to change it over time, but they're not going to dumb it down. Because, again, there's really no point to doing that, because the game has a certain style, and it being in a niche genre as it is, it just wouldn't make sense. Now, they might do that, but from a logical standpoint, and from what I've seen so far, they don't intend to dumb it down. They are actually adding to it. So, if anything, they're making it more complicated.
And for me, and like I said, it doesn't seem like they're really dumbing things down. Let's take Wizards of the Coast. They've been around almost the same amount of time, if not the exact same amount of time as GW. And they've gotten heavily politicized too.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
Azragon, that's interesting. Disgruntled players, one can really make money with that angle. Yeah, the thing is you can. So far, there's no indie devs I know who are taking it too much advantage of that. Any that I know. I know there are some out there, but I don't know any personally who are taking advantage of that market. I wouldn't recommend it, because the thing is, you should only ever attempt that, really, if you know for certain that the game that you are directly like saying, hey, I'm the better version of that, or the older, more rose-tinted goggles version of that. You need to understand that you can't just do that with any game. If a game just has a bad patch, don't even try it. But if it's a game that's had issues over many, many years that's only continued to have those issues, then you simply just need to mark it off of the built-up player base aggression and irritation, which will take some time, but only really think about doing that if it's a game that's much older, that's had a long time to accumulate player frustration and agitation. But again, don't do it with a game that's like got like just a bad patch. Even then, though, and from a development passion standpoint, I also wouldn't recommend it because it's not fun. The thing is, even if you're making a throwaway game that's gonna make lots of money from microtransactions, I still know developers who at least have the passion from the technical standpoint, like, oh, I'm having fun like putting it together and making money off of a game. They may not love the game itself, but they love like the process of making it. They wouldn't do it otherwise, because there's a million and one ways to make money that are better than just developing a game and throwing it on the iOS store or a Google Play store or a Steam store. But I would say that even those developers still have a level of passion for the process of making a game. I wouldn't say just make a game with even if you are attacking the disgruntled player market, I wouldn't recommend going into it with this mentality of like, oh, I'm going to make a superior product for sure, and I'm going to make millions and millions of dollars. No. Go in. If you're going to make a game similar, it's weird to word this. If you're going to develop a game with the intention of capitalizing off of the disgruntled player base, I wouldn't go in with no passion. Like, if you're just going in and just like, oh, this game that I don't even play or like, fuck it. Oh, thank you, Reverend Norse, and oh, sorry. Thank you for hopping in anyway. Hi, bye. It was good to see you, man. Sorry you can't stay, but we'll miss you.
You mighty donator.
Thank you for super chat, Mo. Very much appreciate it, man. Turn me off. Fuck. Yeah, but if you are going to make a game, make it with passion. But again, like I said earlier, it's a balancing act between passion and profit, and oftentimes profit usually takes the head over passion eventually. I would recommend, though, that you always have some level of passion, no matter what you're going for. Even if, again, you're making a game that you don't have a huge amount of love for, make it with love anyway. Make it with the love of the process, the creating the assets, programming the system, working with the game engine. Because if you don't have any passion for a game whatsoever, it's going to come out shit.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to want to play it at all. Like, even the shittiest, like, mobile game you've ever seen, like Raid Shadow Legends, that game has passion behind it. In the sense that, you know, someone worked hard on the 3D models, someone worked hard on the programming, it's a blatant, you know, it's a blatant copy and paste mechanical game in terms of like the monetization up the ass mechanic, but there's still passion behind elements of it. So you should always have, even if you're making a game it's intended to be a capitalization game for yourself, still have passion for it. Otherwise, what was the whole point? There's so many other ways to make money quicker, faster, and in higher numbers than making a game. So if you're going to make any game, even if you're going in with the intent of monetary gain, you obviously have to have some level of the process of creating a game. That's something you should always balance out, though.
And Jorge, we kind of discussed this earlier. That is both correct and incorrect. If a game's audience just stagnates, that company dies out.
Have a good one, Justin Oreo.
So it's not that the mythical wider audience is mythical. It's that you do need to pull in new people so you can either grow your audience or keep it at the same level.
Yeah. But to answer the earlier question, is the tabletop going the same route?
No.
I don't know, other than myself, any tabletop devs right now. Indie devs, I should say. So other than myself, and so I have no frame of reference. It feels really weird. I wouldn't even know if this is actually called indie development if it's on a tabletop. I assume so, because this indie movie scene. So I don't know.
In this way.
uh,
Like, when you have problems with video games being dumbed down or whatever, it's not really an issue of. Now, there are some, obviously, of over politicizing the fucking thing, because words. So, there are some cases of that, but that doesn't really seem to be the big problem. In video games, it's the big thing of making it more accessible to casual gamers. In tabletops, it seems less of that problem and more of over politicizing. So, I honestly believe it's what I said before. It's two separate problems, but both problems do kind of push away veteran players to an extent.
What movement there in the background?
That was probably my son. I don't know. It depends on which camera they're talking about. It was either my son or it looks like a piece of paper floating in your background.
Oh, that's my parchment paper. I use that for my wet palette. I'm working on a speed painting video at the moment, though. I gotta put it on pause to get the lore video out. So, balancing act. But that's all that is. It's just a piece of paper, parchment paper, hanging out.
Balancing acts are fun, aren't they? Fuck sleep.
Yeah. Who needs to sleep? Who fucking needs to sleep? It's completely pointless.
Hey, at least look at it this way. You know my new schedule. But at least if that happened to you, you don't have a kid.
True.
That makes a massive difference.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Sleep is very overrated at this point.
It has been. Right. Anyway, we were talking about this one for a while, so yeah, Sid Meier doubts he could make Civilization today, which I agree with his premise. Player base wouldn't, the wider gaming scene probably wouldn't be too open to it.
No.
Older crowd, yeah, but most of the older crowd are sifting out. Did not we have a discussion about value of sleep? We did.
Okay, so the part about this murder skitting that I think is that I actually just I start actually my first night of work tonight, and in addition to that, I make 5 videos a week on YouTube and do technically 3 streams a week. Because I do this stream with Asmagon, I do this podcast with Asmagon, and I do 2 streams on my channel. So, and I have a 2-year-old. So, yeah, sleep is very valuable, but it will be non-existent.
Yeah, with a 2-year-old, yeah. Good luck with that, man. All right. So the next topic is also yours. The Last of Us 2 gets its first major discount.
Well, this was a 2-for-1. This is actually one that made me laugh a little bit, and then one that kind of confused me a little bit. And I was like, okay. So The Last of Us 2, in the article, it makes this really important distinction that normally games will be out for a little while before they get their first discount. Last of Us 2 just got its first discount down from $60 to $50, unless you're a Power Up Rewards Pro member. It's $45 at GameStop. So yeah, I think they realized they screwed the pooch with that game.
Well,
But
they're most likely not seeing any. They're not seeing a lot of intake of profits at the moment. So
now the one that really kind of boggled my mind: Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 for the PS4 and the Xbox One. It was $40, went down to $33.80.
I thought that was doing well.
Well, no, it hasn't been released yet.
Oh, it already is going down?
It's gone down. It has been released. So this article this article is from. Hold on, shit. This article is from literally a week ago. It's from the 2nd. So it released on the 4th, but this was 2 days before that. And right before it released, they reduced the price. So yeah.
Is it a bad game?
I don't know. Not from what I understand. There's only one thing I disagree with, but that's more of I have issues with famous people talking politics.
I don't even bother listening to them.
Well, no, I like in this specific case, it's an actor. I think actors put too much value in their own words and just need to stick to what they do best. And if they're going to talk, do it in character and not like themselves.
Yeah, actors will be actors.
Yeah.
I mean, they're free to speak their mind, but I agree. They definitely say.
Oh no! They're free
to
to
shit.
They're free to speak their mind. Just don't act like their word is law.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not surprised to see Last of Us gets its first major discount. It's weird that the Skater Pro game already is getting a discount right before it was even released. That's odd, but okay. But I'm not surprised at all to see Last of Us 2 is getting its first major. I'm surprised they only dropped it to $45. They're still being pretty pompous about that price tag. It's like, we'll drop it 50. We'll drop it from 50 to 45. You guys will buy it for that, huh? Huh? No. You won't even buy it. We'll drop it from 45 to 20. 20, right? 20? No 20s.
Curious. I'm going to look this up now.
That'd be hilarious.
I'm going to go to GameStop. And I'm going to see the difference between shit. New is $50. Does it have? It does not have pre-owned, which does not surprise me, because from what I understand, they weren't taking it. Which I don't blame them, because that's all they would have. Although it is
Zirius is dissatisfied with you and me on the podcast.
Although here's the funny thing, it is listed as a bestseller on GameStop.
The Last of Us?
I shit you not.
Well, Naughty Dog had to shove its money somewhere. Yeah, say we're a top seller. Didn't you only sell like 30 copies? Just put us on there, man. Come on. Sweet Jesus. Yeah, I'm not surprised to see that at all, though. I'm gonna take this time to share this little tidbit. Well, I don't know if I want to share this specific screenshot. I'll share one of the update photos instead of the finished product.
I cannot find a pre-owned copy. I'm gonna have to just straight up Google that.
There we go. So this is just a quick little Easter egg here from the productions side of my Grimdark. This is a concept art I commissioned It looks very nice. Now, just from like a lore perspective, to give an idea of like what it is you guys are looking at on screen right there, that is the main infantry of one of the human factions in my Grimdark, known as the Sovereignty. I won't give too much away about them, but this is like the Imperial Guard equivalent, you could say.
The only thing I found was like $30, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's eBay.
You're still on that.
I was curious. I do like the artwork though, but I was curious and I had to see, and the only place I could find it was eBay.
Yep. But this is again just the standard infantry regiment. This is not like an elite force. Well, this specific force. There is a specific lore behind this artwork. This artwork is of a very specific battle that I've written out in the lore. I will tell you the name of it. It's called the Battle of Wrath. And I won't tell you who they're fighting, because that would be a spoiler. Is that a mech on the background? Yes, that is a mech. That is, the Sovereignty does use those. And the beauty is when I start selling models, I'll be making a pretty penny on those bad boys. It's like, yeah, 140. Nah, price that might be a bit extreme for a mech, especially that they got to assemble. But already gave your opinion. I haven't opened. I have Discord only open for the call right now for the podcast, so I'll have to see that later, Nathan. But thank you. All they need is a good old shovel.
They're comparing them to Death Corps of Krieg, which I don't really see, because Death Corps of Krieg is more like World War I Germans. This is like take on medieval armor.
Well, people inherently are going to compare things to what they know, so I'm not bothered by it.
Yeah.
I totally love the wing on the commander's helmet. The wing. Oh, you mean the okay, I get you. Actually, what is that called again? Me and the artist actually talked about that. The name of what the lapels? No, it's not lapels. It'll come to me later. But yep, these are standard Sovereignty soldiers. They're called Steins. That's how the military structure of the Sovereignty works. These are all vampires, by the way. The Sovereignty are a vampiric human race. So the reason they're all covered up head to toe is they have a sensitivity to sunlight and UV rays. They're not going to be like, I'm melting, or like burning up in flames. It's just it's irritating, and it's bothersome. It's hard for them to move about. The mechs, I won't get too much lore about the mechs. I have something planned for that. The red you see... Huh?
I said they sparkle.
No. Fuck that. No, they do not. But as you can see, their blades are heated with a really really hot thermal energy. The metal is very conductive of it, so it won't melt the metal. Do the sparkle. Oh, sorry. He beat you to it. No, they do not. So yes,
I am pleased with myself.
This is their commanding officer. His standard pistol. Let's see. What tidbits can I give away? The comparison to the Krieg is first impression because I love Krieg. Also, comments like this from 40k community will be a common. Yes, I'm aware. That's why I'm not gonna be. That's why I'm not bothered by it at all. So the concept art I really love, and big credit to the artist. Fucking love him. His name is Pyrrhus. Pyrrhus is how I pronounce it. I don't know if people pronounce it differently, but he's on my Discord. I won't give his real name away. I do know it, but I don't think he'd like that, so I'll just use his handle, Pyrrhus. He's a pretty awesome dude. Awesome artwork. Really appreciated it. As you can tell, there are a little bit of a different assortments of weapons, little Easter egg weapons in the background. I think he only fit in one, unfortunately. No, I think I see two, actually. Yeah, there's two of them. Two of the Easter egg weapons I want to throw in there. The mechs, I won't say exactly how big they are, but you can easily assume based on these guys being a scale. Feel free to ask any questions about it, by the way. I'm just going to hold on this for a minute or two. Maybe a little bit longer. Just so you guys have an idea. German, Romanian vampire space soldiers with mecha. Nice. Kinda. I guess that's a fine way to describe it. I'm gonna have to hop off. Sorry. No biggie, Xerius. Have a good one, man. And thank you for hopping in. Let's see. So yeah, the military structure is like this. The military of the sovereignty works like this. You have the Steins, which consists of their basic military. It's both the army, it's their spies and subterfuge units, and it's also a couple other things, artillery units, basic stuff. And then you have the Helsings, which are the super soldiers, such as... This is a smaller image, so it's going to be harder to see. Damn. It's a lower resolution, so it's harder to see. But this is their basic super soldiers, the Astartes equivalent, if you will. This is a Helsing. The Helsing are large, 7 foot on average, 7 foot, 7'2" on average soldiers. Life expectancy of this military. The life expectancy of a standard Stein soldier from when they join up to when they die is usually within 6 months. If that, it depends on if they join up mid-conflict. If they join up mid-conflict on a world, probably a day, maybe 3, if they're lucky. If you somehow survive longer than that, usually you get promoted. Did the troops, they wear light armor or heavy armor or both? The standard Stein soldier is wearing this metal plate, which is, I guess, in the real world equivalent, this could reflect a standard 50 cal of our modern day, but this armor, which should give context for when I say this armor basically only stops like the weakest of all weapons in the universe, and even then that's like a 50-50. In our real world, this would probably bounce off 50 cals from point blank. So that should give you a context of how strong the weapons are in this universe when this armor is only useful against the weakest of the weak in the whole universe, and that's only 50% of the time. There are heavy armored units, more heavily armored units that are going to be bulkier dudes. I don't have any concept art for them yet, so I can't give you the visual. I can give you the description. They're usually like 6'3", 6'4" dudes, and they're especially mutated to have larger bodies. And the armor they wear is more like they're fucking like walking tanks. Diego Flores, what is this? Just got in. This is some concept art from my my own Grimdark. This is just some concept art of their my Grimdark's infantry force. Essentially, the Steins, and that's the name of the whole, like the Astra Militarum is the Imperial Guard, this is the Steins, that's the name of the whole thing. Do they use the metric or the Imperial system? Metric is what I have for, well, they use a system that is derivative of metric based on what I've written for lore. I don't know if I'm gonna still call it metric. Vampire Knight, Sentinels, Rip and Tear. I like it. Yep. So yeah, with the Helsing, with the Helsings, the Helsings they're few in number, but they're incredibly strong. It's about, I'd say 10,000 or so, lore-wise, 10,000 or so Steins equivalents 1 Helsing. They're incredibly advanced units, and their vampiric qualities have been mutated even further. Like I said, they're 7 foot, 7'2" on average, and their armor is much heavier, much thicker, and it can take a lot more shots. Standardly, they usually go into battle with larger shields. The Helsing image is too small. Well, this is the most up-to-date concept art. I can show you the older one, which had the old armor variant. The old armor variant is the one that people had a problem with, apparently. I don't know why. This is the best I can do for alleviating the size issue. There. Basically, this is no longer canon, by the way. They will go into battle with the other form I showed you earlier. This one. That's going to be their standard armor build, but this was the old concept art. So this is the older concept art. This is what a standard Helsing will look like. The Helsing image tonight. Just wondering because he's a dude that uses the metric. Sometimes the Imperial system can confuse me a little. Okay? Well, I'm glad I could clear that up for you. But yeah, this is a Helsing, and they are very, very, very large battle-ready units, and they typically arrive in small squadron. Squadron's the wrong term. Small tactical squads. He's already retconning shit? What do you mean? What have I retconned? I'm in the middle of writing it. I'm just writing it. It's not a retcon till the universe is out there. And even then, I haven't changed anything. I just rewrote stuff. And even then, none of this is wrong. What? What do you mean retconned? You clearly do not know the definition of that word. Are they all male? No.
Bonus points if anyone knows what retcon is short for.
I won't spoil it then.
Because I am cruel.
But no, they are not all male. I have no such restrictions. The models are probably going to end up all being male, just so it can have a consistent mold. At least it's at the start. But most Helsings, there's really no, like, rule to it. It's how they create a Helsing is they basically genetically create them from a template. They're pretty much purely artificially made. They don't start out as human and then are taken away and are raised outside. They're just crafted from the get-go in genetic laboratories. So they never know a family. From, like, birth to death, they are a Helsing. Alright, so now that I've had my little spiel about all that. Any heavy weapon specialists? Yes, there are heavy weapon specialists.
Always have to be heavy weapon specialists.
You said the previous art wasn't canon. That's not a retcon, though. And I didn't say it wasn't canon. I said that the armor, the second pauldron he has, isn't canon anymore. And again, that's not a retcon. Again, I don't think you know what a retcon is if that's what you think a retcon is. Learn words, Nathan. Learn words. Plus, again, I can't possibly do a retcon at the moment. The universe isn't out yet. So when it's out, it's a retcon. Before it's even out, this is all just concept art. This is all just ideas. It's not out yet. It's literally impossible for me to do a retcon at the moment. So, a clone army. The Helsings are. The Steins are not. The Steins are conscript soldiers from across the sovereignty. So, just to clarify that. Helsings are a clone army, though. And they're a small army, like I said. It's a lot of genetic manipulation just to create one.
Murderous Kitten's talking about the piece of paper, too.
Maybe we could bring that up. It's a part... Fuck it.
It's because it's distracting people.
Yeah, solve the problem. There we go.
Oh, Jorge, the thing is like, while it's still in development, it's not an actual retcon. It is it's just concept art. So, it's just like, it's kind of changing direction where you want it to go, not saying like this is what's already happened and then changing what's already happened.
Exactly. Alright, so we did the Last of Us stuff. Alright.
We chucked parchment paper across the room.
We ain't communists.
I mean,
tossed it
how
across
do you
the
know I didn't? Oh wait.
Well,
yeah.
if you did, that would have been weird because the force I put in was accurate to where it landed. Do the Hellsing's little friend activates? What? Little friend?
Do they breed?
Oh, that little friend. Oh, can they have kids? At the current writing, I have a bit of a... It's a weird thing. Most of them are born sterile. Emphasis on most. There are genetic defects with how they're created. So one of those is they can potentially have the ability. The reason for that is I do have a lore reason. There is a story I kind of want to follow about such an idea, but at the same time, I'm kind of debating. For the most part, though, in terms of how they are intentionally created, they are created sterile because there is an inherent fear amongst not just the Steins, but all of the greater sovereignty of the Helsings. Think about it. That one of them is worth about 10,000 standard soldiers. So they're really scary. They're kept in line through a combination of brainwashing and, they're very duty-driven. There are other ways they're kept in line. Plus, they're designed to be... How they're raised loyal to the sovereignty and to the sovereignty's empress. So there is a lot of that indoctrination into their system. So they're kept loyal through a combination of that brainwashing from their childhood. No female models, you bigot, you masagi neast. What? But there's no female models yet because I'm still designing the model for the standard male. So I think it'd be easier just to start with a male set and then later on probably release some female Helsing set. For customization purposes.
Make it easier.
Yeah, it is. Do one at a time. But yeah, I don't have any, gender rules with it. Like 40k did. Not because, I'm not going to claim I'm superior to 40k or, oh, I'm doing it better. No, I'm just doing it different. I think it'd be fun to have more customization there. And plus, in terms of the cloning process, I can't logically say why it would make more sense or less sense for them to not have females. They're just made from a genetic template, and there's really no set perfect code. They're not all identical. The clones have a lot of variance amongst them in terms of appearance, in terms of voice. So, and that's again because I like customization options. And plus, I think that would end up opening up that question of is it possible to have females if the males vary so much? And I think it's fair. Plus, again, I could possibly make up more sub armies with it. Maybe the females are put in their own division. Right now, I have them all in one division, but I can split it up potentially.
Any murderous catgirl race? Well, kind of. They're very weak. They're called Kibzees. And they're usually, when they lose battles, so they almost always do, they are captured as slaves.
This is not canon.
No, that was a joke. I figured that was fun. I was hoping to get a chuckle out of that one.
You did get a chuckle.
I'm going to shove this pin into my neck now.
You're kidding, by the way? I knew you were kidding, Punishment. No worry. Alright, so this leads us to my only news topic. Then I have, the two, 40k focused bits. Yeah, it doesn't need to be there at the launch. So for launch, for sure, it'll just be male units. But I hope to add females, but, the stats are going to be the same. It's just like a visual difference. All right. So yeah, this would be a topic. I think you made a video about this, if I recall correctly.
I did make a video about this.
So
I thought this was equal parts cool and equal parts, oh my god, retarded.
yes, this was dumb. So essentially, here's the basic rundown. So there was a YouTuber by Penguins. It's Penguins 01, right? I don't want to have to go look.
Hold on, let me look at it. I know, like, he goes by the handle Moist Critical.
We'll go with Moist. Moist Critical, because that's probably how I know him better anyway.
Moist Penguins 0.
Penguin 0, okay. Yeah, we'll just go... That's his YouTube channel name, but he goes by Moist Critical. Moist Critical is a YouTuber who made a report about the fact that there was a lot of animal abuse going on the platform, and that a certain channel that was getting... that had been reported by thousands of people was still up, and a lot of people just assumed the channel went away, but YouTube did nothing. YouTube left the channel going, unfortunately. So because of that, there's been a lot of drama since then, because shortly after he made that video, YouTube decided to respond. This is obviously me being facetious. Obviously, this wasn't their direct way of responding. I have to clarify that. But they responded with this declaration of, hey, can we get these, animal murderers off the fucking platform? Please? And YouTube was like, how about no? And we're going to strike your channel for terrorism.
It wasn't terrorism.
What was it again? I'm pretty sure...
Graphic violence.
Oh, it must have been Gundam who was hit by that. Anyway, he was community guidelines struck for a clip in one of his videos, and this clip was a planned, staged, curbside fight between SpongeBob, Mickey Mouse, and 3 other characters.
It was in Russia. It was SpongeBob, Mickey, Scrap from Ice Age, and I think a pink or purple elephant. And essentially what happens is a guy acts like he has road rage, goes up, starts beating on a van, and the 4 of them get out and beat the shit out of him. They don't actually do it, but they look like they are.
It's clearly staged. It's clearly fake. It's just for fun.
And it's funny.
And it's hilarious. And quite literally, YouTube was like, well, this is clearly real violence. People are clearly dying. There is terrorism here. No! No, we cannot allow this. Strike his channel. Oh, fucking retarded shit right there, let me tell you. But they struck Moist Critical's channel. With 0 brain cells involved in that process. Right after he made a video pointing out to them that animals were being murdered for posterity. So, understandably, Moist Critical didn't take it well. Called for YouTube to, make the right decision in 2 ways. 1, actually go after those channels, and 2, take the strike off his because he didn't do anything wrong and the video was perfectly fine. And it had been since the video came out until right around then when they launched the random strike.
Actually, I want to check this out real quick.
And so Moist went on Twitter, and because for some fucking retarded reason you can't contact YouTube via their own services, you have to go on Twitter, of all places, to get any kind of message from them. And they told him, no, the decision still stands. It's clearly breaks the rules. And then he pointed out that Markiplier had reacted to the same exact clip and said, hey, where's his strike? And he didn't say that.
That's not what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
No, it isn't.
That's exactly what happened.
I saw the Twitter thread. That's not what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
I watched the Twitter thread. What happened was is someone else pointed out Markiplier. Markiplier jumped in himself and said, "Well, if this is the case, where's my fucking strike?"
No, but before that, Moist pointed out the video.
I didn't see that part.
Yeah,
I
Moist
saw
pointed
where
out.
someone
Moist pointed it out first. Moist pointed it out first, and Mark said, "Fair enough. Where's my strike?" His was in response to that.
Because I saw that someone else had pointed it out, not Moist.
I'm pretty sure Moist was the one who pointed it out. See if Gundam has the image.
Well, no, I see where Moist put it up, but I think someone pointed out before him, and that's how he got it.
Well, right here on screen anyway, I have Markiplier also made a video laughing about the same fake road rage incident. When will he be getting a strike? That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I think there was one before that pointed out, and that's how he got.
Okay, well, I haven't seen that one. I've only seen Charlie's.
Let me look.
I'm just saying I'm not wrong.
And I'm just gonna make sure that you keep doing your thing. I'm gonna check real quick.
Well, anyway, Charlie.
It's really unimportant, but
it was important enough for you to tell me no. But Charlie pointed out that Markiplier reacted to it as well, and Markiplier saw that. And by the way, again, Charlie didn't say Moist Critical didn't say that with the intention of getting his struck. He was asking YouTube to say, hey, if he didn't get a strike, I shouldn't get one either. What the hell? And it wasn't going after, again, Markiplier. It was he got hit himself, and he was just questioning why it was just him. Markiplier saw this and said, fair enough, where is my strike, YouTube? And they struck him. Which was the most petty fucking shit I've ever seen from a giant platform. Like, seriously? It's like, where's mine? Alright, fine. Here's yours. Huh. So they doubled down. And they're like, fuck it, he's struck too. And so, in response to that, Markiplier made what I consider a very important video, which if it's still up, I recommend people watch it. But Markiplier made a video basically laying out, hey, YouTube as a platform has a lot of problems if they're doing this shit. Like, there's real animal abuse going on, there's other stuff that they could be focusing on, and they're striking people for what's obviously a snuff video.
Yeah, it's still up.
Okay, it is still up. Okay. I recommend people go check out Mark's video in response to it. It was exactly what needed to be heard. And then finally, after all the backlash, after Markiplier got struck and had his entire audience, plus Moist Critical's entire audience shitting down their neck, they said, fine, we're not going to die on this hill. Which I just want to point out, everybody was so satisfied with that tweet. I'm like, really? Really? You're satisfied? They said right in their fucking tweet, oh, fine, we're not going to die on this hill. They said it begrudgingly. People are satisfied with that? They acted like we were pulling their arm. like we were twisting their arm about something that they didn't feel was, let us make this decision. Like, no, we don't agree with you. Fine, I'm not going to die on this hill. Really? And everybody was like, yeah, we won. I'm like, is anybody paying attention to the wording? They just said, we're not going to die on this hill. And then they proceeded to apologize and reverse the decision. For me, it's an issue that's still going to continue. The only reason that they got any backlash for this is they went after two large-ass channels. I guarantee you there are a plethora of smaller channels who are probably still getting hit with dumbass strikes, probably for the same video, and that aren't getting reported. It would not surprise me to see whatsoever, personally.
Okay, I can't find it. So it's very easy. I could have been wrong, but I was sure someone had put it up, and then Charlie saw it and then made a thing about it. But okay.
I only ever saw Moist Critical mention the Markiplier video. So all in all, that was the crap that personally I wasn't satisfied with, but I guess everybody else was. Like, again, I don't understand why YouTube's comment was enough for some folks.
And this is something I pointed out in my video. If you piss off the wrong people, and you can get a copyright strike or a community strike, whatever the hell they're going to call it, for something like that, what is the point in building up a YouTube channel? Seriously.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you saw this, but MXR Mods just got their second strike today, or last night.
Wait, what for?
There was a kid shooting off fireworks, and that is listed under child abuse.
What?
Hold on. Ah, shit. I hate Twitter. It's never fucking simple. Yeah. So they got their,
I have no words.
Yeah.
What? A kid in a clip they were reacting to, I'm assuming, fired off a firework.
Child abuse.
Well, apparently my parents have abused me my entire childhood then, because I lit up fireworks when I was a kid.
And the first strike was apparently animal abuse or something. So if they get one more, that entire channel is completely gone. So, after in the tweet they put up, it's they're talking about making another channel, which I think again. I'm gonna look this up.
Oh my god! At this point, it's not safe for anybody to make channels. What the hell?
No, it's not plays. I don't think. Okay, it might be plays. So they have 1.125 million subscribers. MXR Mods, which I believe is the one that is completely demonetized, has 2.1 million subscribers. I mean, like, well, if the thing is,
this makes no sense. Why is it large? Listen, Twitch fucking bends over backwards for its larger creators. It does everything in its power to shield them from any fucking controversy. Why the fuck is it that... Listen, I'm not a fan of favoritism, but at the same time, it makes sense to have a little bit of that for larger creators. It makes sense. If you're a larger creator on a platform and you get that fucking big, there should be a benefit to it other than just the number of subs you have. It should come with perks. And I think the platform giving you a little bit more leniency in certain regards is one of them. But the thing is, channels like Leaky's, who had Leafy, why did I say Leaky? Leafy had fucking, I'm pretty sure, over 1 million subscribers, and he got nuked with no prior strikes. And then you see channels like MXR Mods and MXR Plays, which are probably the most innocuous channels. Like, they're just the most casual channels you can find on the fucking platform. Multi-million subs, or at the very least, I know one of them has millions of subs. The other has at least over, I'm assuming, well over a couple 100,000.
Plays has 1.25 million. Mods has 2.11.
Okay, so they're both million plus channels for subs, and they still get hit with this shit when it's clearly bullcrap.
And this is the point I made.
Oh my god.
YouTube is doing everything in their power to convince people that there's no reason to build up a channel.
They're succeeding, really, because unless you're covering the most censored crap on the planet, which, by the way, it can't be child friendly, because if it is, then you automatically get demonetized and your content won't get pushed. So you can't be too child friendly, but you can't be even slightly edgy. A kid lighting off a firework in a clip. In a clip they were reacting to.
To counter that point, though, there is, let's look at Markiplier for a minute. He, in how many years has he been doing YouTube?
Like a decade plus.
Easily. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's over 15 years at this, or about 15 years. Or
I won't say that. It sounds a little.
I think he's been doing it since close to the start. Because I think he got started in like 07.
I think he got started in 07, 08. That's if I recall correctly. So it's
12, 13 years.
It's been about 12, 13 years. So yeah, a decade plus.
And to my knowledge, this is his first strike. He has 25 million subscribers. I mean, and the reason now, to be fair, the reason he has a strike is because he's like, he got one. I did the same thing. Why don't I have one? Like, okay, fair is fair, but it's like all this is saying is for those of you small YouTubers, we've already shown you. For those of you who've had your channels for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, that we're not going to fucking help you. For those that have had your channels, 5, 6, 7 years, and still have about 5,000 subscribers around that area, we're not going to fucking help you. We've made that crystal clear. And for the people that have millions of subscribers, all we're going to do is screw them. Like, so what's the point? You're going to go from absolutely not helping people to actively trying to screw them over.
Thing is, I stand by this. YouTube is dead. It's not YouTube anymore. It's not YouTube Broadcast Yourself anymore. It hasn't been since pretty much Google bought it. And like with everything Google runs and operates, it's burned into the ground. The only thing they've ever created successfully is their fucking browser. Everything else, including YouTube, they seem to want to burn. In every way, shape, and form. They do everything in their power to sabotage their own platform, to try and become the very thing they surpassed, mainstream media. And the thing is, they seem so fucking disorganized, it's beyond belief. Because, again, this situation with Moist Critical, he talked to people he knew behind the scenes on YouTube. He had conversations in the background. He had contacts. And they couldn't even get a fucking reply. Well, no, they got a reply from the division that handles the manual reviews. And it was basically a copy-paste saying, like, yes, we think this is legitimate. So, YouTube in and of itself isn't even consistent because the people he talked to said the video was fine, but the people who actually do the manual review say it wasn't, and he couldn't even get in contact with any of them. So, I'm not entirely convinced. I'm entirely convinced that the manual, at the very least, the manual review system, the group that enforces the rules, are just a bunch of algorithm bots, and they say it's a manual review. It's just another robot. I'm convinced of that. Because there's no way a human being could look at some of this shit that gets struck and that gets hit with claims and that gets hit with all this other crap. No one can look at these things and say, yeah, a human being looked at that and said that was right or wrong. No. Fuck no. That's not true. I do not believe that. It's either a robot or it's the most vindictive little shits in a deep, dark basement reviewing videos as they see fit and striking whoever they slightly don't like.
Very possible, too. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
It wouldn't. But the thing is, YouTube Broadcast Yourself has been dead for years. It's only getting worse. And I'm still going to make content on this platform until they nuke me off of it, but it's fucking ridiculous. And Markiplier, Moist Critical, fucking MXR, all channels. Like, I get it, Charlie's a little bit, like I love his humor, but I'm sure plenty of people find it gross. But even then, it's nothing bad. Markiplier, probably one of the most rounded, friendly, wide-spreading, appealing channels of all fucking time.
I will say this about Markiplier. he probably blurs that line for like kid content because he's as friendly as he and he's as I don't want to say childish because it says kind of a negative tone, but you could tell he's just a big kid, and that's one of the appeals to him. But I will say this: some of his deeper videos, 2 of them specifically, he did a playthrough of That Dragon Cancer and an indie game called Hearts and Heroes. Now, That Dragon Cancer, have you ever heard of it?
It was the game I'm thinking of, wasn't it? An indie game?
Yep, it's an indie game
showing cases somebody going through cancer.
Of an 8-year-old, I believe.
Oh, I think I actually saw his video on that one then.
And I like this video because he actually starts remembering his father partway through the game, and it's raw. And it's one of the times when you see him raw, and that's why I really like him, because he's very genuine. The other one, which is Hearts and Heroes, is an indie game, and it deals with, in a way, it's kind of cool. It's an RPG based off of games Markiplier has done, and he kind of like runs this little agency, I guess, of where people who can be conscious while they dream go into other people's dreams and save them from their nightmares. And then the last boss is called Darkiplier, which is Markiplier's like evil alter ego or some shit. And it came about because of his own inadequacies. You know, he was worried, like, am I the right person to be leading them? Stuff like that. And this was another moment where this touched him as well. And it was, again, really raw and really genuine. So it's not that he's childish or like a big kid all the time. He does have those moments. And I think that's one of the things that why I like him over other bigger YouTubers is because you can clearly see, like, he's the kind of person that you could imagine, like, if you see him out, like, walking his dog just out at the store, he would be the same person in front of the camera as he is off.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But, yeah, again, when it comes to content creators like Mark, if they get hit with this utter crap, it makes no sense to me.
Exactly.
It's just this platform is just not safe to make a living on, really. And even if you have a Patreon, it's just not safe. It's really not. There's so, if you're not already big, and even if you are, the chances of you getting hit for something completely out of left field that makes no sense is so high now. And it boggles my mind.
Things I hate the most on YouTube actually has nothing to do with the strikes. I think YouTube does an extreme disservice to their content creators. They would rather, and I shouldn't say they would rather. I will say it seems like they would rather help out the content creators who don't do dick all, but at least have a following. And I think you know the exact reference I'm talking about. I know a YouTuber has approximately 2,000 subscribers, hasn't uploaded for 2 fucking months. Somehow is able to remain on YouTube and make a semi-living.
Well, to be fair, there are some creators who they do projects that take months. So
this is not one of those.
True, the case you're using, but the thing is, I can't entirely blame them for not going after channels that don't upload all the time, because some channels make really advanced content, like animations, Like Astartes, there was like full like 6 months between each video.
Here's my argument for that. With the Astartes, though, it was consistent. It was like apart every 6 months. With the specific YouTuber, it went from doing uploads approximately like 2-3 a week to like one every 2 to 3 months. At that point, okay, you don't need our help anymore. We have these YouTubers who are uploading regularly. You know what? Let's throw them some tips on how they can get bigger. Because if they get bigger, they'll make us more money. They've shown that they upload regularly and they'll get the views. So let's help them out and get them to where they need to be. Man, what the fuck do I know?
I don't know. It'd be hard to set that up for an algorithm because there's, what, a couple billion channels now?
At least a few million. I think well into the hundreds of millions. But, I mean, even still, yeah, it would be hard to set up for an algorithm. But, yeah, and you know what? You're right, Jorge. Jorge actually brings up a good point. The people that run YouTube don't care. But it's like you said before, the only way to reach out to YouTube is through Twitter. That's fucking stupid.
The thing is, the people you're reaching out to are just a PR team. They're not the strike beat. But the thing is, YouTube is way too divided, because apparently each division of YouTube is like its own country, by the sounds of it. Because the PR team can contact all the other teams, but it's through emails. It's like, oh, we can send them an email.
I think what needs to happen is similar to like when you start a new job. You have, we'll say a year period. And after you do so many uploads, after you do, if you still have problems, regardless of how big you are, you don't get a contact at YouTube, but you get like a department you can contact at YouTube, like, hey, I need help with this. Where am I lacking? And they just haven't even, fucking thought of that.
No,
but
like
Jorge said, they just don't care. But I think that would be a much better way to go than whatever the fuck they have set up now.
But no, most of it's automated right now.
Yeah. I mean, if they were to set that up, you would have smaller YouTubers possibly growing quicker, which would mean they could get the ad revenue quicker, which would bring in more money for YouTube.
Yeah.
And it means you need to set up a department for that, but in the end, that would probably be an overall net gain. But it's still too damn dumb for them.
Hey, Carnthcorn, welcome. Joining in the middle of stuff. Yeah. The thing is, I have no solutions, unfortunately. Because every solution I would have had to offer is just not possible at this point. It's not going to help anything.
Yeah.
They've damaged themselves way too much, and honestly, I really hope they sell YouTube to somebody. They won't, but no. I wish they would. Someone who actually gives a fuck.
Or at least get someone in charge who actually gives a fuck.
Alright, well, that's it for the news topics, I think. Alright, so that means...
Now for the controversial 40K topics.
Alright, so... Let me pull that up. It's weird, because I have my screen sticking today. Alright, so what if Horus was never corrupt? So these are topics I just came up with because I'd be interested in just discussing them. But what if Horus was never corrupted? So, yeah, let's start with that one. That might take a while to discuss. So, well, do you want to start with the other one or this one? Which one do you think is going to take longer?
I think the Horus never corrupted is going to take a lot longer.
All right, we'll start with the other one then. We'll get that one out of the way. So the second one, what we think of each other's favorite and least favorite factions. All right, so back to full screen. So, Now, just to set my parameters for what mine are, is a combination of lore, tabletop, and lore, tabletop. Those are the big ones. I guess you could say like the community around specific factions as well.
And mine is strictly lore because I don't do the tabletop.
All right, so I have more factors involved. All right, so at 3, because I'll list them I'll list my top 3. Third, in ascending order. So we'll start with 3. My third favorite, and it was going to be Black Templars, but then I thought about it. In terms of the tabletop, they have virtually no presence at all, sadly. So, negatory. And though I love them lore-wise, I love this other faction just a little bit less. So they make the third spot instead. That'd be Imperial Fists. Love the Imperial Fists a shit ton.
The Bumblebees.
Actually, they have red green. Oh, they're predominantly yellow. They have the black undercoat, Under Armour, and then they have red. Well, that's third company, but still, they have the red trim. A second would be Orcs. If I have to go specific clan, Death Skulls, and top favorite would be my top favorite faction through and through, the Astra Militarum. The Imperial Guard. Something about a normal man with a las cannon getting his ass, firing alongside like 3 other 100,000 while laying down enough mortar and tank fire to make the ground shake.
So if we're going by entire factions, my top 3 in ascending order, starting with third, would probably be Imperial Guard in third. Orcs, specifically, if I'm not mistaken, the
Goths. Oh, you like the slashy hammer guys, the melee dudes. Well, orcs are, but the specifically more melee.
And well, if it's not melee, it's not orky. And then of course, this one's going to be pretty obvious. My favorite faction of all is Chaos, of course.
Give me more specific, because there's a lot of chaos in terms of factions.
So specifically Traitor Legions, but Chaos overall, including the Traitor Legions, the Heretics, and the Chaos Demons. But specifically at the top of those 3, Traitor Legions.
All right. Which Chaos God? Just to help me narrow it down a little bit.
This is one that I have a lot of issues with, because my favorite and which one I think is written better are 2 different ones. My absolute favorite is Nurgle, but I think Tzeentch is the one that's written the best.
How can you write Tzeentch? Tzeentch is confusion incarnate.
And that's why I think he's written the best, because he's always unpredictable. He can literally do whatever he...
Talk about the easiest to write. It's like, hey, is this a mess up in the writing? No, it was planned.
I mean, that's kind of true.
It makes no sense. Exactly.
But it would be really easy to go way too overboard with it, and it seems like they keep that fine balance. I could be fucking wrong, but it just seems like there's that balance of, Tzeentch has done some outlandish shit, but he hasn't done completely unrealistic shit for 40k.
Kind of think of it, don't Tzeentch and Nurgle hate each other?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. Although I will say my least favorite Chaos God, and this is specifically because I did a lore video on them, is Slaanesh. Slaanesh freaks me the fuck out.
Oh, just your least favorite from a freak out perspective or from a design perspective?
I did, because part of what the lore video was, I did their individual demons. There's a demon called a Fiend of Slaanesh. It looks like a centaur with an anteater head. And the way this works is it releases a gas, and if you smell it, you'll be paralyzed. And if it doesn't kill you, you're tortured for the rest of your days with the sound of slurping tongue and fingers grasping at you. No, I'm not making that up. That's the really fucked part. I'm not making that up.
I love Slanesh.
I mean,
if
now,
there's
don't get me wrong.
if there's any Chaos God / Chaos Forces I could get behind, it's Slanesh or Khorne. Those are the only two I could get. I like Nurgle a lot, but I'm not a fan of the Pestilence stuff. I love the concept of Nurgle, the rot, the decay, but I'm not a fan of like the actual visual. But Khorne and Slanesh are my top two. Tzeentch is my least favorite of the Chaos Gods.
I think Slanesh. Now, how I just said Tzeentch, they kind of keep that fine balance of as much outlandish shit as Tzeentch does. They keep it within the realm of 40k. Slanesh is them going way too far with it, because in the video I did and in the research I did, it actually, it's not even fucking implied. It's outright said that Slanesh does have power over the other three Chaos Gods. And I'm like, no.
So what about
Well, I mean, I get the argument because Slanesh excess, Khorne does, killing in excess, Nurgle does the spraying of decay in excess. Tzeentch just fucks with people in excess. So that's the argument for Slanesh having power over the other three, but I'm just gonna...
I don't see a ton of Slanesh overpowering the others, at least from my lore dives, but maybe you're speaking to a specific story I haven't read.
Well, no, this is just in the lore that I looked up.
Okay.
And it's not, and it wasn't really specific. And do I think Slanesh could overpower the other three? Yeah, probably one-on-one. If the other three actually, fucking teamed up, I think Slanesh wouldn't be a thing. But, I mean,
Alright, so we already talked a little bit about the Chaos Gods. So you like Chaos overall the most. Obviously, your favorite Traitor Legion is the Thousand Suns, you said, correct?
Yes.
Now, I don't even think I need to ask why, but I'll ask it just for the sake of the podcast. Why is the Thousand Suns your favorite?
Because out of all of the Traitor Legions, so the Thousand Suns were the last ones to fall, chronologically. But they were the ones that were put in a position where they were almost forced to fall.
I thought they were first.
You.
Oh, wait, no. Oh, that's because I remember that they were the first to actually fight with...
Magnus... Actually, it's interesting you say that, because Magnus was the first one to become a Demon Primarch.
He was the first to become a Demon Primarch. The reason I thought they were first is obviously Horus was already corrupt at that point. He'd already fallen, so I wasn't thinking from that perspective. I was thinking from the idea that he was that because he was trying to reveal Horus's traitorism, and yeah, so that whole thing got confused for me for a second, but I just remembered. Yeah, Horus had already fallen at that point, but did he already corrupt the others at that point? He might have.
Yeah. So by the time Russ had gotten to Prospera, I believe it was either right around or right after the Battle of Isfahan 5. And that was after the other 8 legions had turned full traitor.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I hate to because I've had to do this twice already, but I could pee.
Dude, you got you got such a small bladder.
I do. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, while he's gone, guys in the chat, feel free to share what your top 3 are, and I'll comment on your choices. Your top 3 factions, and you can choose either my parameters, which is lore and tabletop, and a little bit of design. Take those factors into account, or you can use Ludus's, which is just purely lore. Tell me, what are your top 3 favorite factions? This includes sub-factions, by the way. So, be very specific, like which orc and what clan. Imperial Guard. Imperial Guard, it can be more general, just the interior guard. You can specify, like, Adeptus the Scions, or you can say Catachans or Ogrins. You can specify. But yeah, if you can be specific, that would be interesting. Slanesh can't overpower any other god, but does have some influence because of their X's. Their X's. Necrons, Night Lord, and Imperial Fists. Ah, I respect that. Is that in descending or ascending order? Meme Gene, it says my favorites are Grey Knight, Blood Angels, and Black Templar. I respect that very much. I'm assuming that's from a lore perspective. Because if it's tabletop, I don't know if I agree with the Black Templars at the top. Because they have, like, no tabletop presence. Actually, I don't even think they have a codex. Justin Oreo, number 1, Ulthway. Ulthway?
Eldar.
Oh. I don't know the Eldar sub-names. Dark Angels. Alright. And Mechanicus. I respect that. Mechanicus is in my top 10, but not my top 3.
I don't respect Ulthway.
I respect the Mechanicus one. That's just me. Murderous Kitten, you say Alpha Legion. Arsonist. Orcs. Okay. And Elysian Drop Troops. Fair enough. That was in descending order. Okay, so Necrons are your 3rd, Night Lords are 2nd, Imperial Fists are your top 1. I respect that quite a bit. Alright, Silver Legion says Imperial Guard, Chaos, and Grey Knights. Ascending order. Alright, so Imperial Guard, so yeah. I respect that. The Imperial Guard and the Grey Knights anyway. The Chaos, I don't know. But I have my my opinion, of course. Hey, what's up, Gladv? What's up, man? Welcome to the Matt Dudley in general. Orcs, Admech, and Dark Eldar. That's just in general? Okay. So it can be in any order. I understand that. I am totally with you for the Orcs and Admech. Dark Eldar. I don't know if I'd agree, but it's your favorite, of course.
You like Slaanesh. You like Slaanesh.
I like Slaanesh. I don't like the
like
thing is, I
Slaanesh,
like Slaanesh. I don't like the Dark Eldar. But that's for different reasons.
But they're the same thing.
No, they're not. There is specific bits about the Dark Eldar in particular that make them less interesting than Slaanesh as a whole. In fact, I would say they're almost scarier.
I don't know. I can agree with that.
The beauty of not having to agree. Acerbic, 3 Tyranids, give Behemoth. 2 Cadia, Imperial Guard, and 1 Crimson Fists. I respect that. I don't know if why Crimson Fists though. I haven't dived too much into the Crimson Fist lore. I know their general identity separate from obviously their parent and sibling chapters. But I don't know. A lot of people seem to love the Crimson Fist though, but from what I've looked at, they're not that much more interesting than the Black Templars and the Imperial Fists. We'll look at a couple more, then we'll move on to discussing ours a bit more. Sisters of Battle.
Least favorites.
Ketnufo, Sisters of Battle, as in the whole faction. The whole faction. Actually, there are sub factions, right? Of what are they called? They're not called chapters of Sisters of Battle.
I think they're called orders.
I haven't dived too much into their tabletop.
I'm looking it up.
Okay, and 3rd Imperial Guard. Alright, so that's a descending order. Respect, mad respect. Karnath Khorne, 1 Death Corps of Krieg. Respect. Dark Angels and Lamenters. Fair enough. I'm not sure how to list them, but Tau, I don't have the space to argue. Orcs and Imperial Fists, you mean, and Alpha Legion. So that's your top 4 by the sounds of it.
No, Imperial Fits is the new way of saying Black Templar. Yes, it's order.
There is a massive difference. Don't even attempt to. First of all, the Imperial Fists are incredibly codex compliant, you son of a bitch. Black Templars couldn't be less.
I didn't say Imperial Fist. I said Imperial Fits, like it's spelled. I was like, that's the new way of saying Black Templar. I'm making a joke about how there are angry little boys.
They are angry. They're psychotic, angry sons of bitches. That's why I love them. I'm doing.
They're one bad day away from falling to corn, and it'll be delicious when they do.
Gladvy says, I'm doing fine. What's on the menu today? Right now, we're kind of ending the podcast on 2 topics, which is like our top 3 factions / sub-factions of the game. And again, you can use the factor of a combination of lore, tabletop, and aesthetic. As we're gone tilted. I'm tilted.
Actually, if we're going aesthetic, then I've got to go Nurgle. Here's the thing. I understand why people don't like the Nurgle demons, but the good news is they're going to kill you, but they're going to kill you with a smile on their face.
I don't like their design, but I love painting them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it kind of does. But I love the jovial attitude. And again, also keep in mind, I have nothing to do with the tabletop. I just love the positive attitude of followers of Nurgle. In fact, I pointed out in one of my Inquisitor Martyr videos, because the second to last boss of the main campaign is a Plague Marine. He's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you came here. Oh, you told me to go stick up my ass. Well, whoopee, let's have a fight." He's just so upbeat about it. I love it.
Well, but if you like upbeat though, you could definitely argue that each of the Chaos Forces have their own upbeat level.
Well, no.
You could.
Well, here's how you couldn't. Khorne, they're not upbeat. They're just screaming.
Well, yeah, but they're upbeat about killing people. It's like, yay, I'm gouging his eyes out.
But no, see, that's different. There is a dialogue there, though, with Nurgle is what I'm saying. With Slaanesh, they're usually sticking something up your butt. With Tzeentch, they aren't going to tell you whether they're happy or not. They're going to make you guess.
Alright, so we'll end like the top three is in terms of the chat with Nathan's Hive Fleet, Kronos, Necrons, and Blood Ravens.
Oh, God.
Blood Ravens are your number one? I don't hear that in people's number one very often.
So who's your least favorite?
Mine?
Yeah.
My least favorite faction overall, based on the parameters I set earlier. There's a few at the bottom. I'll say my bottom three. In third, this isn't number one because I have the other two factors in there. If it's just lore, this would be number one. Ultramarines, they'd be third. Second least favorite. I'm not sure I dislike these. Well, I'll say it. Tzeentch demons and the coinciding legions influenced by Tzeentch. And least favorite out of everything. I'd have to say I'm really not sure because there's two vying right there.
Okay, I'll go with my three then. So my third from the bottom is the Eldar. I loathe the Eldar. My second from the bottom is almost the entirety of the Loyal Space Marines.
Okay, that's too specific. You got to be specific.
Well, it's mostly because they're just fraught with bad writing, but specifically, you're looking at more along Space Wolves and Ultramarines.
I can respect the Ultramarines, half of that.
And then my absolute bottom bitches are Town.
Yeah, that's the thing is the two that are vying for my absolute bottom spot are the Tau and the Eldar. And I'm talking craftful Eldar.
I seriously think that in going towards my second one, I think the Loyal Space Marines are just rife with bad writing. I think a lot of loyal aspects are rife with bad writing, but the Loyal Space Marines get the wrong end of the stick, and I think that hurts them a lot more. For instance, doing my lore basics video, one of the original legions that I had almost no opinion on actually quickly became one of my favorites, and that was the White Scar.
Well, at least you like one Loyalist Legion. I disagree on the I disagree on the front that they're rife with bad writing. I'm not going to disagree that there are definitely bad written stories amongst them, but I think there is lots of good writing amongst the Loyalist legions.
I think the only good writing of Loyalist Legion is pre-Horus Heresy. But also keep in mind, I'm also sticking almost exclusively to 30k.
Okay, well, I'm including all of it, all the lore I know. That includes some 40k lore and 30k. I don't think it's as bad as that. Certainly not every Loyalist Legion. I'd say the Loyalist Legions that have the worst writing are probably Ultramarines,
Space Wolves.
Space Wolves. Yeah, there's no arguing there. They don't have that many stories either. If you really think about it, they got like three like real major stories, and then the rest are kind of like side stories. But yeah, just to reiterate my bottom three, because I think I've decided the third. Like I said, be Tzeentch, Chaos Forces, and Influenced Traitor Legions. And second is obviously... Well, now that I've chosen the third, second's now in question again. Fuck. I'll do it. I'll redo that one. TLOU, and finally Eldar. Those are my bottom three.
What about Farside Enclave? All TLOU should be burned with unholy fire.
The thing is, the reason I hate the TLOU so much is... The thing is, hate is strong. I don't hate any faction in the whole game, and I mean that. There's no faction I hate through and through other than the Ultramarines. And that's solely... And the thing is, I wouldn't hate them if they had better elements to them. Like, if Gulliman and what he did to Dorn didn't piss me off so much, I probably would hate them a lot less. But other than the Ultramarines, there's no faction I truly hate. Like, I don't hate the TLOU, I just think there's so many flaws. They're definitely in my bottom. I don't hate Tzeentch's forces, I just really don't like the aesthetic, and I really don't understand the lore with Tzeentch. So I'm just not a fan.
I will 100% say I hate the Ultramarines. Because every Legion had something special about them. The only thing special about these Smurfs is plot armor.
Really? And they get way too much. The thing is, I hate them from a lore perspective. I hate them from a tabletop perspective. I hate them from an aesthetic perspective. I hate them from a community perspective, because Smurf fanboys are the worst.
Oh, no, I got one that tops that. I had someone literally argue with me to prove that Gilman wasn't black.
Wasn't what?
Black.
Gulliman?
Mm-hmm.
He's white. For talking like race, he was Caucasian.
No, I know.
Like, if you look up any artwork of him.
No, here's what the argument was. Look up any source in any book outside of official artwork and prove that he's white, not black. That was the literal argument, word for word, that was presented to me.
Where?
It was on Twitter.
Okay. I immediately discredit. I immediately discredit it then. Like, no shit, you were on Twitter.
No, I know, but that's still a funny fucking argument, though.
You were on Twitter, though. You had to have known you were gonna get a dumbass response like that.
I knew I got a dumbass response. I was sitting here like, it's official artwork. It's the company saying, but that doesn't make it true. Like, what?
Like, they literally have it laid out in almost every official artwork that he's Caucasian.
It doesn't matter, apparently.
Like, right here, this is done by the heavy metal team, I'm pretty sure.
And by the way, if anyone wants to know where that stemmed from, it had to do with that book with the Black Ultramarine. My argument is like, it's absolutely fucking possible. But I think they did it just to throw in a Black Ultramarine, and I don't like them doing it for that reason. If it were like a more common thing, no, I wouldn't have a fucking issue with it. Doing it just to do it, yeah, that's just doing it just so you get. I don't want to use that phrase. I had to stop myself. But it's doing it just so you can say, look how diverse we are, and it's not what it is.
But yeah, he's straight Caucasian.
No, I know.
No
You're
argument.
explaining to me what I already know.
Oh, I know. The thing is, I'm surprised you even bothered to entertain an argument with this person. If they say shit like that, then just don't bother. Do not bother. You're on Twitter. You're not gonna find any rational thinkers on Twitter.
This was a couple months ago.
You still remember it? I would have forgotten by now.
I remember because that was actually pretty funny. Because the argument was, the literal way they typed it was, using only written sources, not official artwork, prove that he's white. I'm like, wait, what? Do you not realize how stupid you sound right now? No, they didn't realize how stupid they sounded.
No, people don't read what they say to other people. They really don't read it back to themselves. If they did, they would understand that half the time they sound like idiots. But yeah, I agree though. Ultra Smurfs are the worst fucking faction. To talk to your top 3 again, can you remind me what they are? Just so because
it was. Ah, shit. I know. I think it was Imperial Guard. It was Goth Orcs, and then it was Chaos as a whole.
Okay.
But specifically Traitor Legions.
Okay. So just to speak to what I think of your top 3.
No.
Well, that's the whole point of the topic. We'll start with this. We'll go in ascending. Imperial Guard, I entirely agree. They're my favorite faction, especially with the tabletop. That's why I'm painting a whole army of them. I have well over, I think at this point, 89, 88, somewhere in there, miniatures of them. Actually, let me grab that. I keep them in these little containers. Don't judge me.
Now with Imperial Guard, it actually has to do with 2 things. Because my favorite regiment or my favorite group in the Imperial Guard is the Death Corps of Krieg. I love them. They're insane little bastards, and they're wonderful.
No, trust me, I agree. I love the Death Corps of Krieg. I just prefer like the Cadians in terms of tabletop. Because there's a lot more in Krieg. I don't think there are any Krieg units on eBay, at least. I haven't checked the GW store in months. Maybe I should. Maybe they have some Krieg units. But in terms of like accessible units, it's really just Cadians at this point. Catachan, I don't even think are anywhere. Not that I saw. But lore-wise, I agree. I love the Krieg units. They're fucking grimdark as fuck.
And then one of my favorite characters overall is Imperial Guard Commissar. Commissar Yarick.
Well, I have some basic commissars right here.
The only motherfucker who could run himself over with his own tank and be fine. He gets picked up, gets his arm snipped off by an orc power claw.
Didn't he steal the claw back and use that as his arm?
No, even better. Like, he doesn't even pass out from the blood loss. He slits his throat somehow with the chainsword, and then while the orc is laying there dead, he cuts off the claw, raises it up, and that causes the other orcs to retreat.
Mad respect to that man.
Oh yeah. And then the crazy little fucker that he is heard that there was a rumor that he had the evil eye, so he had one of his eyes put out and had a micro laser put in.
I have way too many of these guys. But yeah, I agree. Commissar Yarick for sure. Definitely the campaign on Anarchy was fucking awesome. I do gotta say, the name of that planet was very unfortunate and kind of foreshadowing. There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to reorganize them because I think I split them up. But yeah, I have a ton of these guys. This isn't even all of them. This is just some of them. But the Imperial Guard is definitely my favorite. Especially with the tabletop, I love horde armies, so But I definitely agree with your third. I'm not even going to question that one. Definitely, not even going to question that one because I'm with you there. They're my favorite though. They're not my third favorite. Your second favorite was, why is my brain already? Goth Orcs. Yes, I like Goths. I prefer the Death Skulls, but that's like it's a slight difference. Goths are my second favorite clan, but I definitely prefer Death Skulls. Goths, orc with axe. Walking the traditional orc. Pure battle melee rage. Yeah, I respect that as well. I love Goths. The only thing is the only reason I like Death Skulls better is when it comes to using mechs more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Death Skulls are more mechy. Not Goths. Goths are way more basic infantry.
Sorry, orcs, like you said.
Oh god.
We just don't need no mech, boys. We just charge at the enemy.
For the work.
You know, for the longest time, I had an orc character in my lore videos, and I did that voice, and I think I almost blew out my vocal cords at least 2 or 3 doing that shit. Because I would do it for like an hour or 2 on end of just straight recording.
Yeah, well, doing orcs, you gotta speak from the abdomen, so it's like you're pity your stomach. Like, we got some fancy gates, boss. The boss knows running into the battle, boss. What's we do? We hammer them to death.
Jorge said, I am more Maccabean Janissaries and Vastroyans. I can go with the Janissaries. They're crazy little fuckers too.
Vistroyans. Aren't those, if I recall, no, I was about to say Vistroyans, and then there's, I was thinking of Valhallan Cadians for some reason.
I love
not Cadians, Valhallan Imperial Guard. Are there any units of Valhallans? I don't see them ever being sold anywhere. So
I like the Maccabean Janissaries anti-tank maneuver. One of them pulls 2 crack grenades from up to the tank, and Allah Akbars it.
Suicide bombs.
Well, it's not always a suicide bomb. Sometimes they make it.
Orcs in Internal Crusade had a WARG button on the very few good things in the game. Understandable. So yeah, I again definitely respect the first 2. Chaos as a whole for the faction. Again, I like Khorne. I like Slaanesh. I like Nurgle fairly. Not as much as Khorne and Slaanesh. I definitely have affection for them. I'm more like passive with Nurgle. I love the models. I think they're fun to paint because you can get oozy and gooey with them. But Nurgle is like a Chaos God. I'm kind of... It depends. Most of the time, I'd say I like him.
Captured an Eldar God and test out his plagues on her.
Yeah, menacing as fuck. No denying.
I love that about him, though. Because it's just one more way to fuck the Eldar.
They really get the short end of the stick, if you really think. Other than them, the Necrons are the only ones who got it worse.
It's their own fucking fault.
It is their own fault, though. That's why there's no sympathy. It's entirely their own fault.
The Eldar are the worst creatures in 40k. I would rather have a conversation with the fucking Hormagon than
you probably get more places.
That's true.
But yeah, the thing is, that's why the thing is, you can feel sympathy for the Necrons. You can feel sympathy for the. You feel sympathy for. Well, you can't. I wouldn't say you even need to feel sympathy. You can feel happy for the Orcs. Their lives are pretty simple. They love their lives. It's like, we killed the thing. We killed the next thing. Whoa!
Have you seen Archer's video on Tuska Demon Killer?
I have not.
This is like the truest like happy ending in 40k. It's an orc who gets a hard-on for killing demons, ends up going into the Eye of Terror, and ends up being on one of Korn's planets. And so what happens is Korn has him fight his demons, and every day they respawn, I guess, from their spores. And there's more and more orcs, but Korn creates more and more demons, and they just kill each other every.
Yeah, it's kind of fucking beautiful right there.
Yes, it is. I love at the end of it, like Art says, and this is probably the closest thing to a happy ending that there is in 40K.
It's true though.
That's the best.
That's the best it gets. I fucking love orcs, man.
Yeah,
it's so beautiful.
great.
I don't love them more than Imperial Guard for some basic reasons, but they're right up there. That's why they're my easy number 2. So you're taught. So yeah, like I said, I agree with most of the Chaos faction. Again, I love most of Chaos myself. I'm not a fan of the Chaos Space Marines. I think they're kind of. I like the Loyalist factions. I'm not a huge fan of the Traitor Legions.
Depending on which Traitor Legion you get, yeah, they are kind of derpy.
They're very derpy.
But to be fair, depending on which Loyal Legion you get, they can be very derpy as well.
True. I won't deny that one. But yeah, but for the if we're talking strictly the Chaos and the Chaos Demons, I like them for the most part. I don't like Tzeentch or Tzeentch's bird units very much. They're weird to me. I'm not a fan, but and Tzeentch himself, I'm not a fan of him. But a lot of that comes to my lack of understanding. I'm not a huge fan of things I can't understand. It's like
that's the beautiful part about Tzeentch is you never know what he's planning. You never know what is or is not part of his plans. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it, is because he's the kind of fucker that something would actually go against his plans and no one would know, but he's like, I meant for that to happen.
I don't know. It sounds like an excuse for lazy writing.
It is a little... so, and I'll answer this, Murder Skin. Why don't I like the Alpha Legion? Essentially the same reason I don't like the Space Wolf. I think that the only good thing about the Space Wolves is that they're the loyal Khorne Legion, whereas the Alpha Legion are just kind of like, they have that out for really bad writing. Is that same thing with Tzeentch, honestly, is you never know what they're planning. The difference for me is with Tzeentch, he's a chaos god, so he has massive influence. The Alpha Legion really don't have influence in the same sense. So it's just, they do it and get away with it. It's kind of like, oh, they're that sneaky. Like, no, they're not. They're in power armor. And
I can imagine that I'm sneaking.
Actually, one of the things I fucking hate has to do with one of the Traitor Primarchs, and that's fucking Mortarion. And he hates Psychers, but chances are he probably is one. And he's a Psyker similar to Korak, is he can hide his presence. That's the only thing I can fucking think of. Because he was in a room full of Legionis Astartes, and not one person saw him until he wanted them to. And it's like, You know, I'm kind of glad bugs grew in your body. I hope it hurts.
Oh my god.
What?
I hope it hurts.
It probably does, and he probably still enjoys it.
Oh god.
It gives life to another Knuckle Guardian.
Some 40K is just hilarious, despite how horrifyingly over the top it is.
It is.
Yeah, Tzeentch is my personal least favorite. And any coinciding legions as well, but that's because they have the same what the fuck kind of reaction from me.
Well, that's a bit true and not true, because Thousand Suns really don't work that way. The main thing with the Thousand Suns is they're the traitor version of the Blood Ravens. If there's knowledge or artifacts, they're going to steal.
Mine. Which
is funny that I never made that connection before, and I've always said that Blood Ravens are descendant of Thousand Suns, but I've never had to make that argument in the reverse.
Alright, so... your bottom three. Actually, I'll have you comment on my top three. Well, you kind of already did with one of them. Imperial Guard are at my number one.
And then it was the Death Skulls. I also don't know much about the Death Skulls, but orcs are orcs. Orcs are beautiful creatures.
I have the Codex. I had the Codex for both the Astra Militarum and orcs for obvious reasons.
Who was your third? It was Imperial Fists, yeah.
Yep, Imperial Fists. It would be Black Templars if we were speaking solely from lore, but the other two factors put Imperial Fists just above them.
So, Imperial Fists and their successors, to an extent, they do the same thing that I like. They're kind of all the loyalists, they're kind of in the middle for me. I like their attitude when they take over, especially back in 30K when they would take over a planet. They'd be like, demolish, build, leave. Demolish, build, leave. And it was very systematic, and I thought that was very cool.
Alright. Yeah, I love the Imperial Fists to death. Like, I really do.
Yeah, they're very methodical, and that I do like about them.
Methodical, straightforward, and they have a very strong sense of duty that's incredibly respectable.
The only thing I don't really like about them is I think that was laid on a little thick with the one. And when I say that, I mean, like, obviously he's the Primarch, so he's going to be like them, they're going to be like him. But, he had a planet-sized stick shoved up his ass. And I think one of the Primarchs...
For the most part, yeah. But the thing is, he was very duty-bound. Very duty-bound and very oath-bound. So he was honorable and... What's the word?
I think that one of the Primarchs that got it right pre-heresy was Horus. But that's also because it was he was the focus. So there was more to go off of. But I think he was a Primarch where they got the sense of duty right, and for the longest time, a sense of honor.
Yeah, I think that would be what impacted the Legion 30K in particular quite a bit, and Dorn. Dorn, because he was so duty-bound and so honor-bound, he also had a sense that he had to, well, the way you put it, had to stick up his ass. Yeah. That was his attitude throughout his life, that it always worked. When you're honor-bound and when you're duty-bound and when you have a sense of responsibility, you need to have also a sense of, what's the word? I guess basically his sternness and his, I guess, thick-headedness comes from the sense that, again, with that honor and that duty, he has to stick so closely to it, and he can't break from it too much. And I guess he saw in his way, being too emotionally open or too, again, wording. Words are fun. But being too open, I guess, was also a sense of weakness for him. Because if you're too open, you also hazard to let too much in and also let too much out. Like, if you speak too much, you could end up hurting. For example, if you have to keep a secret, if you're open too much and you let that out, that can hurt not just you, but your legion, your entire faction, the entire race you serve. So I think a lot of that duty and a lot of that honor did making him a very stern prick. But at the same time, it's when you understand what's going on inside his head, if you look at like the stories with, you know, how he dealt with the loss of his favorite brother, Sanguinius, and the loss of his most respected brother, Horus. If you look at how he handled all of that internally, you can see that he was about as emotional as any human being as it gets. He just never let it out. And he had that sense of duty that even in those darkest of moments, he never let loose. I find that respectable. Yeah, stick up his ass in most general situations, but I think that came about from a life of, again, duty and honor constantly being on his mind and being what defined him.
I
So
will say that there were times, like even before the loss of Sanguinius, that he let his anger out pretty well. He let that emotion run loose.
he especially in very specific situations, yeah. I think when it came to the traitor legions, especially when the betrayal occurred, he let his rage out quite a bit. Especially when dealing with the name of that Primarch just escaped my brain. He cut his head off. Fuck.
The only one that's been decapitated is Ferrus Manus.
Who is this I'm thinking of?
I don't know, because the only two that ever died was Kurz and Manus.
Uh,
I am so sorry, but I've got to pee again. Damn, what's wrong with me today?
How much are you drinking? Why you do that?
Not as much as normal. I'm so sorry.
It's this name is completely just escaped my brain. Who did Rogel Dorn kill? Oh wait, no. Alfarius, thank you. Thank you, Google. Fuck. Yeah, Alfarius. He didn't decapitate him though. That I do believe is right. How did he kill him? I think he just stabbed him. I can't remember how he killed him exactly, though. Fuck. But yeah, he let his anger out on him hardcore. He fucking slaughtered his ass. Granted, it was after the Horus Heresy, and a lot of that built up frustration over the course of fighting that war, outnumbered and outgunned. I got to him. But yeah, Rogel Dorn killed Alfarius. So yeah,
I think it's because
Rogel Dorn killed Alfarius, by the way, just to let you know. That's the one he killed.
Supposedly.
Supposedly, but it's chainsword to the skull, apparently that's how he killed him.
But no, I'm starting to believe it's because I've been anxious for.
So maybe that's why I thought it was a decapitation, because it was a chainsword to the head.
Possible. Again, I apologize to everyone watching.
No, it's okay. Some of us have nervous bladders. Some of us have not. But yeah, that's again. I love the Imperial Fists. They're a bitch to paint, in my opinion. I don't know what it is about bright yellow, but it's hard to do highlighting on. Yeah, you could do the wash first, and do a second layer of wash on the highlights. But, that's a debate in itself. But yeah, Dorn, I do respect, and I do love his character a lot for the reasons that made him have a bit of a stick up his ass. But for me, I don't need very emotionally open characters. I know a lot of real people in my real life who hide their emotions, and I respect them quite a bit. So I guess that's where that comes from.
I will say that like when it comes to favorite Primarchs and least favorite Primarchs, two of my favorites are Magnus and Horus. And two of my least favorites are Fulgrim and Mortarion. Angron actually comes really close to the bottom as well.
My least favorites are Angron and yeah, I'd say Guilliman. Those are my two least favorite Primarchs. Period.
Fulgrim got mind fucked. Knew he was getting mind fucked. It was like, well, wait a minute, I'm getting mind fucked. No, I'm too smart for that. And then Mortarion, literally, him and Perturabo both just saw their allegiance as disposable. Angron was the only failure out of all the Primarchs. He almost got killed by humans.
If only they had. Angron is my least favorite because the others, you could at least say there was something about their upbringing, their lives that ended up leading to their eventual pass. Angron was just an angry son of a bitch from day one to his final days. And he's just such a simplistic character.
Angron was actually kind of badass before he became a gladiator.
Lorgar, well, the thing is, I enjoy Lorgar from the sense that I enjoy how just flat evil he is. I I still hate him as
He is the most evil character.
He's the most evil, but the thing is, in 40K it works.
Yeah.
I like that honest evil.
So Angron, apparently when he landed, there was an Eldar squad or patrol that was sent to kill him as a baby, and he killed them all as a baby. That is badass. He then got raised by slavers to be a gladiator, and then had the butcher's nails put into him, and that fucked him up more.
Okay, well, by that logic, Russ being raised by a fucking thunder wolf is badass.
Turned him into a furry, yes. That's not where you were going with that?
No.
Oh. I mean, it's still true, but
Angron suffers from extreme bad writing. In my opinion, he could have been so much better. He could have been, but the thing is, he isn't. That you could, by that same line of logic, you could also argue that Gulliman would be more likable, or Mortarion would be more likable and interesting.
Here's a really good one-sided character, Vulcan. He's one-sided, but he's really well done one-sided. Because all he wants is hugs.
Fair. I don't... The thing is, when it comes to Primarchs, I don't think I have any dislikes of Vulcan, to be honest.
But that doesn't change the fact that he is kind of a simple character.
And yeah, he is, but I like him. I don't like Angron.
But that's my point. Is sometimes simple characters... You know, like for me, the two simplest for me are really one and the same, and that's Russ and Angron. But
nah, there's some major differences there.
Yeah, no, there's fucking not.
Yes,
One likes humping animals, the other one doesn't. Vulcan, on the other hand, is also very simplistic, but he's done really well. I still stick to Russ is a bad day away from all the Space Wolves are a bad day away from falling to corn. They're worse than the fucking Black Templar when it comes to their temper.
Sort of. It depends on the story. There are certain stories that make the Black Templars seem a little bit more extreme on the angry front, but it depends on what you're going after.
Angron was a good boy. He just didn't want to fight for the Emperor. And on the Angron being defeated by humans, there is a chance that those humans had some Khorne relics. Okay, they were humans. He was a Primarch. An Astartes in his underwear could take on a few dozen humans and be fine. A Primarch could take on a few hundred humans and be fine. He literally created a slave army, got himself surrounded by multiple armies, and almost got wiped out. In fact, when the Emperor saved his ass, his army did get wiped out. No, Angron was a failure through and through.
Yeah, I'd stand by that. I dislike Angron so much.
For what he is supposed to be the 40k equivalent of the Hulk, and he is good at that. He is good at being the 40k equivalent of the Hulk. He is just a bad character, period. But
he's like Hulk without the Bruce Banner, though.
Yeah, but you cannot justify him getting surrounded by humans and almost getting killed by humans. You just can't. A good example of this is in the book Flight of the Eisenstein, where Nathaniel Garrow, a Death Guard Astartes, not Mortarion, the Primarch, just regular Astartes, lifts a human up by their skull.
I respect that.
And this isn't even a Primarch now that we're talking about. And Angron was one of the bigger Primarchs too, not like Alfarius. I believe even Mortarion.
Weren't they all like around?
No, no. Some of them were much bigger.
Well, I know Vulcan was much bigger than the others, but I thought the rest of them were relatively around the same height.
If I remember right, the tallest ones were Vulcan, Magnus, and
Magnus. I forgot Magnus
and
was
the
significantly
shorter
taller.
ones were Alfarius, Korak. I'm trying to think of who the last one was. And I want to think Mortarion, but I'm probably wrong. I mean, but even though, if I'm right on this, and even if Mortarion was still short for a Primarch, he still stood a full head taller than most Astartes.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's like, in Angron, again, I think actually Magnus was the tallest.
I just point out how impractical how impractically large each of the fucking Primarchs is.
Yeah.
There's so, like, thing is, when you're reading about them and how badass they're, like, oh my god, these guys are awesome. But then when you factually think about how big they are, like, just
Like, oh yeah,
you're like, what the fuck? It's like, then you start thinking about shit like, wait, did they manufacture like every door in the Imperium to be big enough to fit like the Emperor through? It's just weird to think about. Like, these guys are so fucking huge that an 8-foot door, they'd have to go like, gotta get through.
Jorge, headcanon is fine, but there's no evidence to support any of that.
Yeah, headcanon's a bit of a shady area. I'd say headcanon's more legitimate if you have like the regular lore, but then you like cut it off at a certain point. Like say like, okay, everything after this I don't consider canon. That's like more of a proper headcanon. If you're taking like bits and pieces from all over the place and say it's headcanon, but everything around it that are interconnected, if you also say that's not canon, then you inherently make some issues with what you're saying.
Or making massive leaps of logic without anything to back it up. For instance, in this case, Karn was a victim of decent writing. No, Karn was a victim of... And here's something I love. I love Karn's character. Karn is my favorite character in 40k. Period. Hands down, Karn is the best. Karn literally had an opportunity to fix himself, but just snapped. And I think that is really cool because it plays on how even Astartes are human. And their weaknesses can be preyed upon.
As much as they want to refuse that they are human.
Yeah, and there are a lot of good examples of that, but I think Karn is easily one of the best.
I agree.
Also, by the way, for anyone who thinks that that 40k is not diverse enough, the World Eaters had fucking bronze skin, so they were kind of Mediterranean. Think like
plus the Emperor
Greek.
was like Indian, like Native American.
See, don't say that, because now I get this funny image.
Well, he
of
is.
Magnus...
That's fact.
But hold on. Wait till you see where I'm going with this, and you're going to laugh. I get this image of Magnus, like, projecting his soul to the Emperor. And it's like, thank you, customer service. I mean, what do you want, son?
Why do you gotta ruin it like that?
You're chuckling, I fucking hear it. It was funny. It was wrong as fuck, but it was funny. But seriously, like, if you look at the Thousand Sons, they were based on Egyptians, so they were darker skinned. World Eaters were darker skinned. Fucking the Salamanders were much darker skinned.
Yeah, but their darker skin's like magma.
I mean, because it's now canonical, you have Blood Ravens who are dark skinned. So show me where there's not fucking diversity. You look happy.
Yeah, like I said, the Emperor is clearly Native American-esque. So, I'm just saying. Diversity has been strong with this series from the get-go.
Which is funny, because now they want more. And it's like, okay, where's the finish line, guys?
There isn't
like,
one.
There's some things I'll easily go with. Like, you want female Imperial Guard? I'm all for that.
There are. Lore-wise.
Yeah. And like one of the best,
and it makes sense. Nobody has a problem with that. It's when we get into for some reason they're like, okay, but we want female Space Marines. It's like, okay, well that doesn't make sense.
You have Sisters of Battle.
We have Sisters of Battle. The thing is, how interesting would it be? Like, oh, we now have female Space Marines. Great, it's a Space Marine with a vagina. What's so interesting about that? They have no idea how dumb of a concept it is because it makes no sense. And plus, I love the Sisters of Battle. So does the entire real community. The real community of 40k love the Sisters of Battle. Love the Sisters of Silence, and they fucking love them. They're better than just a generic female Space Marine set.
It's about the Sisters of Battle. I like them for what they are, but overall, compared to the other factions, they're kind of in the middle for me and kind of meh.
I love them. I love them lore-wise.
Oh no, I think for what they are absolutely good at what they do. This is kind of like what I said about Angron. For what he is, he does it well. I just don't like what he is. Sisters of Battle, they are great at what they are. They're just not bad or good to me. They're just kind of meh.
Yeah, they're good to me. The Emperor, thank you for calling tech support. Oh shit, hello, son. God damn it, we're all gonna get in trouble.
We are gonna all get in trouble, but that was funny.
It was funny though. But like I said, I just leave it at that. I don't agree with just shoehorning in female Space Marines. I've said it before.
Yeah.
I've explained it time and time again. Sisters of Battle are already a thing, and they're far more interesting because they're their own thing. They're their own faction. They're not just they're not female Space Marines. They're more interesting because they have their own identity. Just gonna leave it at that. Anybody who wants female Space Marines, you're an idiot who's never even heard of the Sisters of Battle, and you're not a real fan of the franchise. I'm gonna put that down right now. If you want female Space Marines just for the fucking sake of it, you're not a fan of the franchise. You're welcome.
And Jorge, I want to point something out to you real quick. Yeah, someone could have done something with the height difference between Astartes, Custodes, and Primarch. If you get a chance, read Horus Rising and listen to how they describe the Mournival. You have from order of shortest to tallest. You have Horus Axaman, Garviel Loken, Abaddon, Ezekiel Abaddon, and Torek Torgeddon. And there is a massive height difference between Axaman and Torgeddon. So what you're honestly getting is the averages, because there is variation in all. And again, this is what we were talking about before with the Primarchs. There's a height variation from the Primarchs. For instance, if I remember right, again, Magnus was the tallest of the Primarchs. There's going to be a massive height difference between him and the shortest, who, if I remember right, was Alfarius. So, if I remember right, they even say Alfarius was close to the size of a regular Astartes. Yeah, I mean, it's all good to have the averages and say, like, this is the normal, but there is no normal. It's why you have all these different groups of Imperial Guard. You have Cadia, you have the Catachan Jungle Fighters, you have Krieg, you have the Armageddon Steel Legion. They're all completely different. Although it would be funny to see the Jungle Fighters fight alongside Krieg. That would be a hilarious disaster.
That would make no sense battle-wise.
It wouldn't, but wouldn't that be funny to see that?
Be interesting. Be a one-way fight. I love the
No, not if they were fighting each other.
No, I know what you're saying, but it would be a one-way fight. Like, whoever they're up against has the advantage, because you have two forces that don't work together.
Yeah.
I love the Sisters of Battle, but the new models look like fucking mams. Some of them do. I won't disagree with that. Some of them definitely do. Of course, you are right on the average height stuff. I am not disagreeing with you. That's what Jorge says. Alright, so we've commented on each other's favorite and least favorite factions, I think.
Are you ready for the one that's going to take a long time?
I'm thinking about saving that for next time. That way, because the thing is, we've been going for almost 3 hours on this one, so
yeah.
I think we'll save that topic for next time. Maybe we'll have like one discussion topic about 40K at the end of each podcast.
Okay, yeah, that works. That actually works out really well. I like that idea.
Yeah. So we'll save that one for next time. I think we'll call it here, though.
Okay.
Thank so much to Nathan for his incredibly generous super chat. Beyond generous. So much generous I can't do the split today financially with Ludus. Damn it. Thank you, Ginger Ninja. Same deal. Thank you very much for the incredibly generous support. Same with Reverend Norse. You three were fucking MVPs on this one. Much appreciated. And thank you to everybody else who's been a part of the chat, chatting back and forth with us. And I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. It's been a huge amount of fun. And yeah, I hope everybody just had a great time. I did. I'm hoping Ludus did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love having these conversations, especially like Especially like this conversation when we had the 40K chat and included the chat as well. That was really fun.
Yeah. Like I said, I had a lot of fun. I'm happy Ludus had a lot of fun. So,
Ludus needs to do drugs.
What? But yeah, we'll call it here. Thanks so much, guys, and have a great rest of your day or night or evening. Bye bye.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
All right, boom.